Jeep and Ram in stock. Listen.
During the Drive into Fall event at Folsom Lake Dodge, save over $6,500 net savings off MSRP on a new 2025 Jeep Wrangler 2-door Sport. That's over 17% off.
And I've got 5 at this hot deal.
Or rustle up over $10,000 off a new 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. Over 19% off.
The Drive into Fall at Folsom Lake Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram. Even Laramie knows now is the time for a deal. Right, Laramie?
At Folsom Lake Dodge.
In the Folsom Auto Mall and online at FolsomLakeDodge.com.
Wrangler includes $44.85 dealer discount plus $2,000 in national retail bonus cash. Then SE $65.83.48. Grand Cherokee includes $45.25 dealer discount plus $5,500 in national retail loyalty and select inventory bonus cash. VINs S8667701, 629.387, 6694.58. See dealer for details. Expires 9/30/25.
Hey, Sacramento, we've had the coolest and most comfortable summer in 30 years. And believe it or not, the cool summer has created a huge opportunity. Air conditioning makers are overstocked, and Sierra Pacific Home and Comfort has been given exclusive discounts to clear out that inventory. Why Sierra Pacific? Because the world's top brands know that Sierra Pacific installs their systems with precision craftsmanship and the most trusted warranties around. And right now, you can get a brand new high-efficiency system installed by Sierra Pacific at a special limited time price. And since many of these systems qualify for tax credits and SMUD rebates, you'll put even more money back in your pocket. This is a very limited opportunity. So call Sierra Pacific at 916-638-0543 or visit SierraPacificHome.com and schedule a free consultation.
Sierra Pacific Solar Heating and Air, the guys in the big red trucks.
Call the good dudes at Gabrudes, G-U-B-R-U-D-S.
Let's get right to it. Is your home over 10 years old? How long has it been since electrical integrity was checked? Even for newer builds, a safe rule of thumb is to have your home's electrical inspected at least every 5 years. At Gabrudes, electrical work is all they do. Panel replacement, whole house fans, generators, solar, and more. But home inspections are what they do most often. They are the area's experts and the electrical company their competition recommends for the hardest problems to solve. So whether you have a difficult situation or it's just time to ensure your home and family are safe, call locally owned Gabrudes for a thorough 12-point expert inspection. Gabrudes, serving Northern California neighbors for more than 30 years. Gabrudes, G-U-B-R-U-D-S.
Call the good dudes at Gabrudes, G-U-B-R-U-D-S, Gabrudes.com.
Hi, it's Margot from Bennett's Restaurants. At Bennett's, it's all about bold flavors and fresh handcrafted food served with genuine hospitality. Craving prime hand-cut steaks? We've got them. Fresh salmon, halibut, or giant Mexican prawns? We've got those too. At Bennett's, we serve premium seafood and steaks in a relaxed setting. Whether you're joining us for a special night out or a casual bite, we'll treat you like family every time. Find us in Sacramento, Roseville, and Rockland. View our menus and make a reservation at bennettsrestaurants.com.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and I dedicate a lot of my time going fast. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk to a doctor. Visit ALZ-to-talk, a message from Alzheimer's Association and the
Press. Happy day afternoon. KSAC 98. Holla 2847.
Good afternoon, ladies and
Grant's back and here to win. It's the Grant Napear Show on Fox Sports Radio Sacramento. Now, Grant Napear.
And a good afternoon, everybody. How are you? Today starts the beginning of a 5-day sports marathon. I cannot wait. Coming up on the show today, in about 25 minutes, Steve Albert's got a great book out. A funny thing happened on the way to the broadcast booth. Steve is one of the most accomplished sportscasters of his generation, part of the Albert clan, Marv Albert, Al Albert, Steve Albert. I had Kenny Albert on, Marv's son, and the nephew of Steve. He was on a couple of days ago. And so why not Steve Albert? He has amazing stories. That's coming up in hour number 1. Hour number 2, Chris Landry, LandryFootball.com. Tomorrow, I just got off the phone with Sean Salisbury, whose son was having a great week, getting married over in Hawaii. He is back. He's going to be joining me tomorrow during the first hour as well. So what about a sports weekend? How great is this? Of course, it kicks off tonight with Thursday night football. You've got Seattle at Arizona. Then the Ryder Cup starts tomorrow, and the early morning matches are out. Hatton and Rahm against Justin Thomas, Bryson DeChambeau. You've got Matthew Fitzpatrick, Ludwig Oberg against Henley and Scheffler. And how about this pairing? McIlroy and Fleetwood against Harris English and Colin Morikawa. That is a 1-2 duo right there. Rory McIlroy and Tommy Fleetwood. Wow. Then you have McIntyre and Hovland against Cantlay and Schauffele, your morning session. We'll see who gets off to a good start at the Ryder Cup tomorrow. Bethpage State Park, Bethpage, Long Island. A little bit of rain today. I don't think it's going to affect the course tomorrow. Weather looks okay. But I'm looking at the McIlroy-Fleetwood pairing, and I'm like, whoa. Justin Thomas, Bryson DeChambeau. That's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of fireworks. Be interesting to see if DeChambeau tries to go over the trees on the dogleg right on hole number 1. And he's a guy that could conceivably get the ball on the green from there against Hatton and Rahm, which is a very interesting pairing to me for Europe. So we've got the Ryder Cup beginning tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. Then how about the college football lineup? Wow. I mean, have you peeked at all of the games? I mean, we can talk all you want about 6th ranked Oregon at number 3 Penn State. I mean, I think that obviously when you look at the rankings, that's the number 1 game on the card. But there were really good college games all over the place. I mean, I may not leave my room, right? I may not leave my living room the entire weekend other than to come down and do this show tomorrow. That's it. That's about the only time I think I'm leaving. Why would I want to leave? I've got the Ryder Cup on all day. I've got Thursday night football. I mean, again, the schedule on Saturday is sick. It's unbelievable. Got Georgia hosting Alabama. You got Ole Miss playing LSU. I mean, there are games all over the place. The problem is I've got to go to a place that's got 4 or 5 or 6 TVs so I can watch all the games that I want to watch in college football. I love this weekend. This is going to be phenomenal. Again, Ole Miss hosting Brian Kelly's 4th-ranked LSU Tigers. Even though Washington's unranked, I'm interested to see how Ohio State's going to do on the road up in Seattle. But then as the clock moves, you've got Oregon and Penn State. It's going to be a whiteout in Happy Valley. At the same time as that game, they're kicking off in Athens, Georgia, hosting Alabama. Georgia 5th-ranked, Alabama 17th. I mean, it's awesome. Cannot wait for Saturday. Then Sunday. It looks like Brock Purdy's got a really good chance to be the quarterback of the 49ers after missing the Saints game and after missing last week's game against Arizona. You look at the schedule coming up for you on Sunday. Again, it begins tonight with Seattle at Arizona. The early games. We start with Minnesota at Pittsburgh. Atlanta hosts Washington. Saints travel to Buffalo. Cleveland's on the road against Detroit, who looked phenomenal against Baltimore. Carolina and New England from New England. Giants, Jackson Dart, first NFL start against the Red Hot Chargers. 3-0, good offense, very good defense. Philly, Tampa, undefeated teams. No Mike Evans for the Bucks. Houston at home against Tennessee. 2 horrible teams at the moment. And then how about the undefeated Colts going west to take on the LA Rams? Niners, again, we think Brock Purdy will be the quarterback. Jacksonville's in town, then a short week because San Francisco is at LA on Thursday to take on the Rams. And how about this matchup for you? Something's got to give here. Baltimore 1-2. Kansas City's 1-2. The loser of this game is going to be in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. Baltimore at Kansas City. Then the Bears are at the Raiders. You've got maybe the most attractive game on the card Sunday night. So if you thought you were going to get a little break on Sunday after the early and late games, no. Because you got Micah Parsons and the Green Bay Packers coming in to take the Dallas Cowboys and their horrendous defense. What's the over-under on Parsons and sacks this week? What do you think the over-under would be? If I gave you the number of 2.5, what would you go? Would you go under or over with Parsons? Then a doubleheader on Monday night. Jets, Dolphins, Bengals, Broncos. Not exactly the sexiest matchups in the world, but, I mean, what a stretch, huh? Seriously. NFL, Ryder Cup college football, Ryder Cup NFL, and then a doubleheader. Oh, by the way, did I mention that Monday is media day for the Sacramento Kings? Yeah. Did I mention that on Tuesday, if you want to add day number 6, the Kings begin practice? And, of course, the rumors are once again heating up that the Kings and the Warriors are talking once again about Jonathan Kuminga and Malik Monk, who seems to be in a trade rumor every single week. And that has been going on since the end of the regular season. I like Malik Monk. I think he provides something that the Kings don't have, that they need, and that is a legitimate 6th year of the man candidate coming off the bench. That's his best role. I know they moved him into the starting lineup, but when I think of Malik Monk and what his best attributes are, it is as a 6th man. So here's the other thing about Kuminga. Assuming that this deal would be consummated, did the Kings really promise? How do you promise a guy? But did they really promise Jonathan Kuminga that if he came to Sacramento, he would start? Who's he going to start for? Were you going to walk up to DeMar DeRozan and go, we know that you've had an unbelievable career and you've been a multiple-time All-Star, and now you're going to be going to the bench for a kid that's got red flags all over his body that Steve Kerr didn't want to coach, and now you're going to go up to DeRozan and go, you're coming off the bench? Really? Like, good luck with all of that. There is a thing called chemistry. There is a thing called culture. I know a lot of people were saying, Napes, what do the Kings have to lose? Why not roll the dice? Kuminga does have talent. Kings aren't going anywhere. Kings aren't a team that anyone's talking about. Well, here's the deal. I already know that Malik Monk is a really good player, and for the most part has been a positive for the Sacramento Kings. And here's what I know about Kuminga. Talented, yes. Problematic. Steve Kerr doesn't want to coach him. The general manager doesn't want to coach him, or doesn't want him. The owner has been fighting for him, but Kuminga clearly doesn't want to be in Golden State. So you've got a young player who's talented that already doesn't want to be in a situation. Do you call that entitlement? Do you call that being influenced by an agent? Do you put that in a different category? See, I've talked about this a lot. I'm very leery of young players that are unhappy. Always have been. And I've covered the NBA for a long time. Are there exceptions? I'm sure there are. But when I think about players, particularly early in their career, that are unhappy about this, unhappy about that, and really feel like they are better than they are, or should be playing a lot more than they are, which I'm fine with. All players want to play. But I'm looking at a 22-year-old kid. That's what he is to me. He's a kid, okay? Who apparently is unhappy. Really? You want a 22-year-old unhappy player? Can you imagine being 22, making that kind of money and being, and again, I'm perceiving his unhappiness. I don't know for sure, but he certainly appears to be unhappy with his situation in San Francisco. I don't think I'm making that up. You look at his career, shoots at a high percentage, 50%, but 33% from downtown. Terrible free throw shooter for his career. at 69%. You want another guy that can't shoot free throws? There you go. All right. Very athletic. We get that. There are times when you watch him play that you're like, wow. And there are other times you watch him play that you're left very, very frustrated. Last year, he averaged 15.3 points, 4.6 rebounds, and 45% from the floor. That was last year. Okay. And last year, 47 games played. So I want to ask you, Kings fans, because we can get into this today, at 916-779-0929. That's 916-779-0929. Do you want to take what you already know you have in Malik Monk and maybe a first-round pick in 2030 or thereabouts and take a 22-year-old whose ceiling is pretty high when you watch him play? But why is it that a coach with the success of Steve Kerr and a franchise that has been as successful as the Golden State Warriors, that they want to move Jonathan Kuminga? Like, I'm always, when I see a player that doesn't want to play for a coach like Steve Kerr, or more importantly, a coach like Steve Kerr that doesn't want a player, I'm sorry, but that's a big red flag for me. And I have tried to stay away from red flags when I'm looking at building a team. I had Mike Lamb on 2 weeks ago, my former co-host back in the late part of last century, in the early 2000s. Mike was my co-host for probably 10 years. And I'll never forget when the Kings were in the DeMarcus Cousins draft. And before the draft, I said, all right, Mike, yes or no? Are you drafting him? He said, absolutely not. He's got too many red flags. Kuminga's red flags are different. It's a different set of circumstances. But I, for one, would not, in this particular instance, based on everything that I am reading and hearing, which I have to filter that because not everything that I'm reading and not everything that I'm hearing is true. So I have to filter that, call up my sources. Jonathan Kuminga, okay, you must ask yourself, what is it about a 22-year-old kid that is unhappy playing in the NBA for a team with Steph Curry on it that's coached by Steve Kerr? You have to ask yourself that question. You also have to ask yourself the question, why is a coach as accomplished as Steve Kerr, with all the championships that he's won, both as a player and a coach, why does he not want Jonathan Kuminga on his team? You have to ask yourself that as well. So as I sit here today and I think about the Sacramento Kings, no, I'm not projecting them to be a top 8 team in the West. I'm not projecting them to be a top 8 team in the West. But you can get worse. You can get worse. So keep that in mind. All right, let's get to a phone call or two. Why don't we check in with Dennis in Stockton? Dennis, good afternoon.
In Sacramento, Grant.
What's up, buddy?
How you doing, brother?
Good.
I just hope this Kuminga deal goes through, like I've been telling you. Yes, I hate losing Monk. Yes, he's a fan favorite. We all love Monk and what he does. But it's kind of, how do you say, a rebuild without a rebuild? Because you're going to get a younger player and you're going to give him a starting position.
Why would you give him a starting position? Why would you give him a starting position? Why?
I mean, why wouldn't you, Grant?
Well, why would, no,
Like,
I didn't ask you why wouldn't you. I asked you why would you?
Okay, I'm sorry. He's not talented enough to give him a starting position?
He's not better than DeMar DeRozan.
Well, I'm not saying that, but we're on different, how do you say, timelines with that.
Explain yourself. What do you mean by different timelines?
I see Scott Perry trying to grab his young guys, trying to, like, he has, I mean, you have Neek, you have Max, You have Isaac Jones. You bring in Kuminga. I mean, you got 4 guys right there, below 24 years of age. And I, like I told you before, I see that vision in Scott Perry. He wants to hit that home. Now, whether these guys can take a role or take and keep a starting spot, it's to be seen. You're right. We don't know that, Grant. But I see the projection into that future. I mean, you got even Keon. I mean, yeah. So you have 5 guys right there under, 25, 24, 25 years old? I mean, I see what he's trying to do for the future. And
then why did you go out and sign
it.
Dennis Schroeder with a 3-year contract who's 32 years of age?
Because you need a starting point guard, and he was the best. He was the best out there. He was the best out there without you giving up like a first-round pick, or you know what I mean. He was a $15 million, guaranteed starting. I mean, look what he did. I know you don't like the EuroLeague, Grant, but I mean,
doesn't mean anything. I don't care what. I didn't need to see. I didn't need to see
know.
Dennis Schroeder play in Europe to know that he's a good point guard. I like Dennis Schroeder. I like him, but he's 32 years old. Not that he's an old man, but I don't see how we're talking about the big picture now, right? We are talking about the big picture. So are we talking about a guy that's going to be a starting point guard for 1 year, and then maybe next year at this time he's coming off the bench as the backup? And then you tell me, Dennis. I mean, I assume that you like Keon Ellis, correct? I assume that you like, a lot of the other guards. You can't play everybody.
No, 100%. But it's just a step into that direction, I believe. That's what I believe.
Okay. Hey, Dennis, I appreciate the call. You have a good rest of the day.
I appreciate you. Love you.
All right. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. Oh, some very interesting thoughts from Dennis. I'm just telling you, too many red flags for me. And I'd love to be wrong. I've been wrong before, and when I'm wrong, I admit it. But I'm skeptical of taking a young player who already has had these type of issues surface, who apparently doesn't want to be on an organization like the Golden State Warriors, and a coach as accomplished and as respected as Steve Kerr doesn't want him. That's a big red flag for me. Now, does that mean he can't come to Sacramento and be successful? No, it doesn't mean that. But you're now, again, I don't know if the reports are true. You're going to promise him a starting job? Really? Why would you promise him a starting job? That's the part that is puzzling to me. Hey, with football back, so is your shot at big wins. With DraftKings Pick 6, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, your game day instincts can score you real money fast. Here's the play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats. Go to DraftKings Pick 6 app. Very simple. Like tonight. All right? You look at the quarterbacks. Look at Kyler Murray. Total yards passing. Are you going more or less? And here's the kickoff bonus. New DraftKings customers get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry. This season, play your player instincts. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now. Use code KSAC. That's code KSAC. Play just $5. Get $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. Make the call. Ride the upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Well, a new book is out by a guy that I have a lot of respect for. He has had just an absolutely unbelievable career. Matter of fact, I don't know if you'd be able to find anyone as the same generation as Steve Albert, who has broadcast as many events for as many teams in so many leagues and so many sports as Steve Albert. And I really mean that. I mean, his career has been absolutely unbelievable. And the book that he has out is incredibly entertaining and funny. It is called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Broadcast Booth. Steve Albert, when we come back on the Grant Napear Show on Fox Sports Sacramento.
It's Margot from Bennett's Restaurants. Who says Mondays have to be boring? At Bennett's, Mondays are made for wine and dine. For just $65, enjoy 2 full entrees, 2 salads, and a bottle of wine. Perfect for date night or dinner with a friend. That's a complete dinner for 2 with wine. Treat yourself to our crave-worthy favorites, like our prawn linguine or short rib with mashed potatoes. Join us this Monday in Roseville, Rockland, or Sacramento. Reserve now at bennettsrestaurants.com. Make Monday the new fun day at Bennett's.
Okay, we are running a car drive right now to help veterans all across America. So if you have an old car, truck, or van, even a motorcycle or an RV sitting around, you can right now give it away and help the vets. They really need your help. And your car will help support the vets and their families. And guess what? You even get a tax donation. Plus, we'll even come and pick up your car for free. And all you've got to do is pick up your phone right now and make a free call. Now is the perfect time to do something good for the vets. Give back to the vets right now for all they've done for this country, and your old car can really help them. So call the Veterans Car Donation Program right now for free pickup of your vehicle. Help the vets and help your taxes at the same time. Call right now.
800-598-0539. 800-598-0539. 800-598-0539. That's 800-598-0539.
Hey, movie fans, playing this week at the Esquire IMAX Theater in downtown Sacramento, One Battle After Another, the IMAX Experience.
The message is clear.
I'll be seeing you very soon.
Not if I see you first.
Leonardo DiCaprio and Sean Penn star in this action thriller as Group X revolutionaries reunite to rescue the daughter of one of their own. Shot in VistaVision widescreen format, the best theater to experience One Battle After Another is on the Esquire IMAX Theater 6-story screen. Grab your reserved seats today at IMAX.com/Sacramento.
Wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You know, you could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind. Like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest.
Uh-oh.
Or that time you forgot to roll up your windows in the car wash.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a remote control would have come in handy then. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Life doesn't come with a remote control. Yikes! So you're on your own with the wasps. You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Show on Fox Sports Sacramento. I am very happy to welcome my next guest. He is an unbelievably accomplished sportscaster. As a matter of fact, if I asked him just off the top of his head to tell me all of the teams he's worked for in all of the different leagues and all of the different events, I'm not so sure that he could do it, but he has a book out that is funny. It is entertaining. A funny thing happened on the way to the broadcast booth. It is a pleasure to welcome to the program Steve Albert. Steve, how are you?
Hey, Grant. Great to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
It is my pleasure. I had your nephew on, Kenny, last week, talking to him about his career and his book. So I said to Kenny, you know, if your last name is Albert and you're a sportscaster, you obviously have to put a book out. As a kid, I read your brother's book, Marv, when his first book came out.
Everybody but my brother Al has a book out. I guess he's waiting for a movie or something before he gets a book out. But you're right, though. Your introduction was very spot on, because I probably couldn't name all the teams that I broadcast for, although I do know that I announced for 13 teams, 11 leagues, and 7 different sports. I was like an actor who couldn't turn down a part, thinking another one might not come along. But the funnier answer is why? Because I couldn't hold a job. But in reality, 6 of those leagues went out of business. They became defunct. So, broadcasters move on. I was in the ABA, the World Football League, the World Hockey Association, Major Indoor Soccer League, World Team Tennis, World Basketball League, But, sometimes announcers are presented with new and exciting opportunities. Your contract runs out, a new one in a different city is offered to you. And then, I'm not going to lie, sometimes contracts are not renewed for whatever reason. But I have no complaints. I'm very, very happy with how the career turned out.
So take me back to your childhood, growing up in Brooklyn with Al and Marv, the three of you practicing play-by-play and keeping your parents sane at the same time. Like, how on earth does that work?
Well, I was about 8 years old, Grant. My brothers, Marv and Al, and I set up I guess what you'd call a makeshift broadcast booth in a little room in our house in Brooklyn. And the booth consisted of a small black and white TV, my parents' folding card table, three rickety old chairs, and a big old reel-to-reel tape recorder. And that's where we first practiced our play-by-play. We'd turn down the sound on Yankee games. They were the only team in town, and this was the late 1950s. And boy, I'm old. Anyway, it just hit me, just dawned on me. We'd rotate assignments. One would announce the game, another would control the sound of the crowd on a sound effects record, and the other would simulate the crack of the bat by knocking two price marking pencils together. That was from our dad's grocery store in Brighton Beach, Brooklyn. And then we'd switch around. The tricky part, Grant, was the sound effects part of it. The crowd noise on the record lasted only about 2.5 minutes. So you had to be cat-like quick to put that needle back in the right groove to keep the crowd noise going. Because there were other sounds, like sounds of the city, explosions. And sometimes, for example, Mickey Mantle would be up with the bases loaded. And, here comes the pitch. And we'd hear cars crashing or dogs barking. But it was early training, great training. And when we weren't practicing baseball, we were announcing ping pong down in the basement. Two of us would play and the other would announce. And the games were pretty intense. So it was like growing up in a broadcasting school with free room and board.
I'll tell you, you have so many great stories in this book, but one of my favorites is the time you got locked in your bathroom early in the morning as you tried to get to work from New Jersey, trying to get on the GW Bridge to the studio in time for your show. You know what, Steve? Getting locked in the bathroom before work, really?
Well, back in the early, you can't make this stuff up, Grant. Back in the early 1980s, I was doing sports on a morning drive time show on WABC radio. And one cold winter morning, I got up at my usual time of 3:30 a.m. I went into the bathroom to take a shower. And when I was done, I tried opening the door, but the doorknob was loose and jiggly, and it just kept spinning around. I'm sure some of your listeners can relate to something like this happening to them. I realized I was stuck in the bathroom. I started to panic. I looked around, found a big aerosol can of hairspray, and I started pounding on the door to smash out a hole. And finally, I got to where it seemed big enough to crawl through. I got about halfway through, and then I got stuck. And all I had on was a towel around my waist. So I slid back into the bathroom. I started pounding on the door again and finally got through. And when I got to the radio station, I was pretty disheveled. I explained to the host, a guy named Alan Combs, what had happened. And fortunately, Alan was a stand-up comedian. And so he got it. And he said, forget the sports, just tell this story and don't leave out one detail. And before long, the phone lines lit up with listeners telling their own horror stories of getting locked in their bathrooms, basements, garages.
Classic.
So it was a happy ending after a tough ordeal. And that bathroom story is the opening chapter, and hopefully it sets the tone for the rest of the book.
Yeah, the name of the book is A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Broadcast Booth. You have been blessed to be behind the mic, ringside, for some of the great fights that we've ever had. You have been so lucky to call so many. You did the Tyson Holyfield with the biting ear incident. What was it like being there in that venue that night?
Well, Grant, I was always on edge leading up to a Mike Tyson fight. I mean, he was so unpredictable, as everybody knows. And personally, being such an over-preparer, I wasn't a fan of disruption. I was apprehensive enough as it was going into the second Holyfield fight, Tyson fight. So, but I had a feeling, though, in the pit of my stomach that Tyson was going to do something way out of the ordinary. And we all know what happened. In the third round, he bit off the top of Evander Holyfield's right ear. And I yelled out, "Holyfield bit by a dirty Mike Tyson." There was a lot of blood. I was announcing in what you might call controlled shock. The referee, Mills Lane, took a couple of points from Tyson. Then Tyson shoved Holyfield from behind after a delay while the authorities, got together and conferred on what the heck to do. The fight continued. But then, just moments later, Tyson bit Holyfield's left ear. And then Mills Lane didn't see it. And the fight continued to the bell. It was then determined that a second bite had indeed occurred. So the fight was delayed again. But then police, security, etc., ran into the ring. Tyson was swinging at anyone in his path. The crowd was going wild, pandemonium, mass confusion. And they didn't make an official announcement that Tyson had been disqualified until 25 minutes later. So we were tap dancing. Now, as an announcer, there's no way to prepare for something like this. There's no playbook. They didn't teach you in Broadcasting 101 how to describe a fighter biting off a piece of another fighter's ear.
Right.
So you're flying by the seat of your pants. Somehow I managed to get through the broadcast, but I couldn't believe what I was seeing or saying, when it happened. The pay-per-view TV audience was nearly 2 million, including the president, Bill Clinton. The first question to Clinton at his Monday press conference was, "Did you see the fight?" And the president said, "Yes." And I was horrified. And I remember thinking at the time, I was relieved he wasn't referring to the broadcast. But that was, without question, the most memorable and challenging event I ever called.
Okay, before we get back to the book, because you've done so many phenomenal title fights, if we leave that one on the back burner, do you have a favorite? Do you have the one that is number one on your list?
Oh, without question, of the 300 World Championship fights I announced on Showtime, one stands out as the most exciting and dramatic. It took place May 7, 2005, Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. And in all my years of broadcasting boxing, Grant, it was undeniably the most compelling, prize fight I really ever had the privilege of describing. It was one of the most breathtaking and heart-pounding battles in boxing history. And some pundits went so far as to say it was the greatest fight of all time. It definitely was the fight of the year. It was Diego Corrales versus Jose Luis Castillo. And round 10 made it into a classic, adding even more clout to the contest that it took place on the weekend of the Boxing Writers Association of America annual awards dinner. So there were many media members in attendance. The fight received more coverage, than it might have otherwise. There was just phenomenal back and forth action throughout the fight. The crowd was into the action right from the opening bell. Each round absolutely gripping. Corrales fought fire with fire, which translated into an astounding slugfest. Uncertain game plan, but he made it work, and it made for spellbinding television. Grant, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you it was 10 rounds of sheer mayhem. Both guys gave and took hellacious shots. Neither fighter budged. And it was just a two-way beating that just raged on. Both faces were battered and bruised. Castillo cut over his left eye. Corrales' eyes were badly swollen in the seventh. Then came the 10th. It was like a TCM movie. It didn't seem real. I mean, it was like one of these James Cagney movies. I had never announced anything like that in my career. Less than 30 seconds in, Corrales absorbed a sharp punch to the chin. He hit the canvas. It was the first knockdown of the fight. And seconds later, he was on the canvas again, and Castillo just kept landing and landing. Corrales somehow, in the blink of an eye, turned it around and came back to win the fight. He was down twice. He had spit his mouthpiece out twice, and the fans in the arena were just beside themselves. It was one of the greatest and most dramatic ends to a fight of all time.
Talking with Steve Albert here on Fox Sports Sacramento. In addition to all of your other announcing experiences, for a few years you did the Mets, and you worked with Hall of Famer Ralph Kiner. And when you were in the booth with Ralph Kiner, as someone that grew up on Long Island watching both the Mets and the Yankees, you could expect the unexpected, and that happened to you, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, working with Ralph was a trip. He had, to the uninitiated in the audience, he had been a prolific home run hitter for the Pirates and was such a huge star in his day. He even dated Elizabeth Taylor, the actress. And he only played 10 years in the majors, injuries, but he won 7 straight National League batting titles and got into the Hall of Fame and almost single-handedly restored the faith of, Pittsburgh baseball fans following World War II. But he had his he had his transition to the broadcast booth, famous for his on-air slips of the tongue, Kinerisms, as they called him. He would call Gary Carter Gary Cooper, and he would say something like, "On Father's Day, we again wish you all happy birthday." And at the Hall of Fame ceremonies, he said when he was plugging the Hall of Fame ceremonies, he said they are coming on the 31st and 32nd of July. There was a time it was great. There was a time he said, "Hello, everybody. Welcome to Kiner's Corner," which was his famous post-game show. Then he forgot his name. And during one game when Mets reliever Neil Allen was warming up in the bullpen, he was due to toss it to me to call the action. Ralph said, "And now for the play-by-play, here's Steve Allen." And
unbelievable.
Yeah. Steve Allen was the original host of The Tonight Show.
Yeah,
He was a talented guy. But the thing that you're referring to, I was working with Ralph and Bob Murphy one day, only on radio. We would get the out-of-town scores from a ticker tape machine, and the tape would unravel into a waste paper basket behind us. And often Ralph would light up a big cigar in the booth. And this one time he pulled the waste paper basket closer to him so he could flick the ashes. Eventually, it wound up under his chair, and the balled up paper that had all the scores on it erupted into flames. And right in the middle of a call, Ralph jumped out of his chair and screamed and stopped his play-by-play of a fly ball to left. And Bob picked up the call and said, as Ralph was saying, that fly ball is caught by Dane Orge. So Ralph was one of a kind. And during those trying years with the Mets, he was comic relief.
Unbelievable. Steve Albert joining us here. There's so many great stories of you, but I always used to remember watching Marv on Channel 4 do the 6 o'clock sports, then listen to him do either a Rangers or a Knicks game, and then watch him. And it was nice because him and Warner Wolf didn't always go right head to head. And those are my two favorite. But you had, I still don't know how you did this. You are doing the 6 o'clock sports. So your segment starts at around 6:20 or so. But then you're doing the home New York Islander games. And for the folks that don't know, the Islanders played in Uniondale, Long Island, and it's rush hour at that time of the day. And yet you were able to make it from the studio in Manhattan, driving to the Islander games. That's unbelievable to me.
Yeah, I had some help, Grant. There was a young production assistant who would bring my car around at around 6:30, and I would dash out. It was like it was like after a bank heist. I would just jump into the car and drove like a wild man on the Grand Central Parkway and then the Northern State Parkway, and I could see the Nassau Coliseum from a distance. And in true Marv fashion, I yelled out, "Yes," and it counts. But it didn't last very long. All of a sudden, traffic was bumper to bumper, and I found this dirt road to the left of me, and I sped like Steve McQueen in the movie Bullet. And I was just out of my mind to get to this is before cell phones. And while I'm doing this, going 80, 90 miles per hour with dirt and dust kicking up from the car, I'm trying to put on my Sports Channel jacket. The the folks that broadcast the game was called Sports Channel. And it looked like if somebody was looking into my car, it looked like I was being attacked by a swarm of insects as I'm trying to put my Sports Channel jacket on. Unbelievable. So I made it to the arena with my bulky briefcase. I was just like a battering ram, knocking people over. And I ran around the end zone of the Nassau Coliseum to get to the hockey booth on the other side. I saw my color commentator, Stan Fischler, getting ready to open the broadcast by himself, and Stan didn't do play-by-play. He was ready to do color, and I could see the sweat pouring down his brow. And I literally dove into the concrete broadcast booth and grabbed the mic, and I put on my earpiece, and I could hear the producer counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I got the cue, and hi, everybody. Steve Albert, along with the hockey maven Stan Fischler. Welcome to New York Islanders hockey. And we were on our way.
Classic. The name of the book, folks, is A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Broadcast Booth. I've read the book. It is phenomenal. I really couldn't put it down, not only laughing, but it brought back memories as somebody that has watched the Alberts throughout their career. I say this in all due respect. You're one of the great talents of your generation, but you're one of the nicest sportscasters of your profession, your whole family. So whatever you did as a kid, however you were raised, they did a hell of a job, because not only you are unbelievably talented, but you are a great guy. And I really appreciate the years that we have chatted before and after games. And I just want to say thank you for coming on the show and all of the years. Not that you're dying and I'm dying. I hope to have you on again soon, but I just wanted to let you know I appreciate the heck out of you.
Hey, Grant, thank you so much for the kind words. The feeling is mutual. It's a pleasure to be on with you. But I will say that when Marv Al and I were kids and practicing and going around the house doing play-by-play of everything, including dinner, we were not well. We were not well. We drove our parents crazy. My mother would often say, "Can't we have just one doctor? Do all three of you have to be sportscasters?" But I'll say this in closing. They never told us to stop, not
That's
once.
great.
And for that, I'm eternally grateful. But thanks so much for having
Thank
me
you,
on.
Steve.
Always a pleasure.
Appreciate it. That's Steve Albert. Great stuff right there. Really happy that he was able to join us. We'll take the break. But first, I want to tell you about DAS Mechanical. Do you need a maintenance check or an emergency repair on a heating or cooling unit? DAS Mechanical will take care of all of your heating, cooling, ventilation, and energy needs. They'll provide you with a full consultation, explain all of your available options so that you can choose the system that's right for your home or business. And remember, financing options including 0% interest for 18 months available, up to $6,000 in rebates and federal tax credits on qualifying equipment. Here's what you're going to love. You're going to get a thorough exam, a complete evaluation. You're going to know whether you need a new unit or not. You're going to be right there every step of the way. So no mysteries. They'll answer all your questions. And if you go to their website, dasmechanical.org, take a moment and read all of their 5-star reviews and their best of the best awards. That says a lot. I think you're going to really love DAS Mechanical when you need them. dasmechanical.org. And again, keep them in mind to take care of all of your needs, whether it's repair, maintenance service, new unit. They've got you covered. dasmechanical.org. How about some phone calls when we come back at 916-779-0929, Fox Sports Sacramento.
Sports traffic as we take our first look at the roadways for this Thursday afternoon. We're not looking too bad, actually. We're starting to see some moderate slowdowns on I-5 southbound from Richards Boulevard through Q Street and down to about Sutterville Road. About 10 minutes worth of delays. Cap City Freeway also a little slow right around Exposition Boulevard to Arden Way, but just a couple of minutes worth of delays through there. US 50 is wide open. No reported problems in the way of accidents or delay. With twice an hour traffic, I'm Andy Bass for Fox Sports Sacramento.
For nearly all of us, our home is our biggest investment. And just as important as what it looks like on the outside is what is happening on the inside. How long has it been since you had your home's electrical integrity checked? Whether your home is 10 or more years old or even a newer build, the safe rule of thumb is to get the electrical inspected at least every 5 years. At Gabroods, electrical work is all we do. We're the area's recognized experts. Panel replacements, whole house fans, generators, solar, and more. But home inspections are what we do most often. Whether you have a difficult electrical situation or it's just time to ensure your home and family are safe, call locally owned Gabroods for our thorough 12-point expert inspection. Gabroods, serving our Northern California neighbors for more than 30 years. Gabroods, G-U-B-R-U-D-S.
Call the good dudes at Gabroods, G-U-B-R-U-D-S, Gabroods.com.
In the fight against Alzheimer's, now is the moment we've been waiting for. With new treatments emerging in the fight against Alzheimer's and all other dementia, now is the time for hope. Join the fight and walk to end Alzheimer's, the largest fundraiser for care, support, and research to fight the disease. So come on, Sacramento, get out, get moving, and join the Walk to End Alzheimer's, Saturday, September 27th, 8:30 a.m. at William Land Park. Join the movement at alz.org/walk.
It's an electric September at Epic Chevrolet and Cadillac. Osvaldo Hernandez and his team have epic deals for you on all Chevy and Cadillac EVs before time runs out on the $7,500 federal rebate, which ends September 13th. Oz and his team are ready to get you into an EV of your choice. See the epic selection of Equinox, Blazers, Silverados, Lyrics, and Optics. Get your epic deal and get the $7,500 federal rebate. Epic Chevrolet and Cadillac on the corner of El Camino and Fulton. The time to get an EV is now. And the most epic deals are available at Epic Chevrolet and Cadillac. See Oz and his team and learn about additional in-person specials. Don't wait. The federal rebate ends September 13th. Epic Chevrolet and Cadillac. Epic cars, epic deals, and epic service. It's an electric September at Epic Chevrolet and Cadillac. Call Oz at 916-929-8335.
Remember, always be generous with the nutmeg. Just eyeball it.
Okay.
Mom's wisdom has served you well, but now it may be your turn to guide her.
Hey, I'm worried about Mom. She keeps forgetting her famous sweet potato pie recipe.
Some things come with age, sis.
And some don't.
Knowing the early signs of Alzheimer's in a loved one will help you make the best decisions for your family. Visit 10signs.org to learn the signs. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and I dedicate a lot of my time going fast. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Good stuff from Steve Albert. Hope you enjoyed that. What a family. Marv Albert, Steve Albert, Al Albert. They've announced everything. Kenny Albert was on last week. He's the only sportscaster in North America to announce all 4 major sports. It's pretty amazing. It really is. You know what else is amazing? Spencer Grimmenstein at Village Financial Group. And I can say that because I've known him for 25 years, and that's when he began his family-owned business. And whether it's a home equity line of credit or you're buying or selling a home, Spencer is a very creative financing specialist. And keep this in mind, he has access to private money. Check out their website, vfgloans.com, or you can give Spencer a call, and you can text him as well, 916-805-4868. And be sure and call for the investor special. Back to the website for a moment, vfgloans.com. You'll find over 9,000 properties available for purchase. It makes sense to call Spence at 916-805-4868. Village Financial Group, looking out for your best interest. For the first time this afternoon, let me bring Rhino in. All right, your take. You're the general manager of the Sacramento Kings. You've been on the job for a couple of months. Are you trading Malik Monk and a first-round pick, maybe in 2030 or 31 or whatever the year may be, for Jonathan Kuminga?
I am, if I'm Scott Perry. I'm going to put a stamp on the roster early and try to replace, to your question about giving him a starting lineup job, try to get probably DeMar DeRozan coming off the bench. I don't like it, Grant, but in the long run, I think that's what weighs out over the immediate future.
Yeah, I think that would be a disaster personally. And so I'm going to take a poll in the next hour with people calling up and messaging me. Also, good news beginning today. So why don't you fill everyone in? We've been getting a lot of questions about the podcast, and you're better able to explain it than me.
Yeah, thank you for that. So we've talked about it for a minute, like Grant said. The podcast will be available temporarily. That's the key word, temporarily, on Grant's podcast site. So if you subscribe to Grant right now on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, wherever it might be, we will be temporarily uploading the show there until our new system that's being implemented Fox-wide is in place, and the podcast will then move over there once we're all good to go. So we heard you. The show will be available today, probably this evening sometime.
All right, good stuff right there. All right, let's get back to the Kings for a moment. If the rumors are true, the only place that Kuminga could start, assuming that did happen, and I'm not ready to go there until I hear it from either Doug Christie or Scott Perry, assuming that the deal would be consummated, would be to have DeRozan come off the bench, right?
Correct.
There's no other scenario that would work.
Correct. And Scott's talked about wanting to get Keegan closer to the 3.
Yep.
It does that. I mean, the question I ask you, and we've talked about the pieces of this team, does it make this team closer to an all-star team or a team full of all-stars?
Definitely not an all-star team. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, what has Jonathan Kuminga done that's going to make me go, oh, wow, gee, the Kings got a guy. I mean, I'm a red flag guy. You know that. You've known me for a number of years. I am very skeptical, particularly of young players that, for whatever reason, you can't, listen, if you can't play for an organization like the Golden State Warriors, for a coach like Steve Kerr, and it goes both ways, why would I think that you're going to be able to play in Sacramento?
Same could be true of many players that have multiple destinations, right? Sometimes the system just is not a good fit for that player. Look at Davion Mitchell. Jerry Reynolds said he'll have multiple stops. He's now on a 2-year good deal in Miami. I understand the red flags, Grant. I guess and when I say a team full of all-stars, what I mean is you're closer to having puzzle pieces that fit together rather than individuals. But back to the bigger point, I just think that with Jonathan Kuminga, it's a way, you always say either the draft or in free or via trade. That's how you improve a small market team. And a lot of times you've got to take a risk. And I don't like losing Malik Monk, but I understand it. And I would get it if Scott Perry went that way.
All right. Well, I want to open up the phone lines, particularly after we talk with Chris Landry from LandryFootball.com, because I want to get more into this at 916-779-0929. I'm with you on taking risks. I think when you are a bad franchise, and let's not kid anybody, I label the Kings as a bad franchise right now. Yep. I mean, all you have to do is look at all the national scribes and shows. I mean, they all have the Kings near the bottom of the list in a lot of categories that you don't want to be last. So we can agree on that. Yes, Ryan?
Agreed.
Okay. So in that vein, I agree with you that you have to roll the dice. But I already know what Malik Monk is, and I like him. And I think that the role that he can provide this Kings, particularly as a sixth man, is going to be different than if you tell me that DeMar DeRozan is going to be coming off the bench, who is basically going to be a ball stopper on the second unit. I'm not crazy about that. I'm just not. But, hey, I'm with you. You do have to roll the dice. But you better roll the dice correctly, all right? You better get lucky at the craps table. You better not roll a 7 to start, or else, well, guess what? You crapped out.
I would be interested, and you're right, I would be interested to see what Jerry Reynolds would say about this, just because of this fact. He's always talking about getting guys that are on the way up on a fair contract, and Kuminga's contract, if what's reported is true, and he's going to sign a 3-year, $63 million deal, I think that's fair. Now, conversely, you're losing a big part of the Kings offense in the pick and roll game. if you do not have Malik Monk there. And Grant, what about Malik off the floor? The energy that he brings behind the scenes to the team.
Well, but we also have to see how Dennis Schroeder works on the pick and roll, particularly with Sabonis.
Yep.
So you're losing one guy, but you're also getting someone that's an established point guard.
You are, but you only had one guy in Malik Monk. Look at the offense. They could not do the pick and roll when he was injured at the end of last year. They
Very,
could run.
very, very, very good point. As I said, a really great weekend starting tonight. You got the Ryder Cup, by the way. If you're a baseball fan, you've got the regular season with some phenomenal races going on in Major League Baseball. Incredible what's going on the final weekend. You got college football tomorrow, the NFL, both on Sunday and Monday. I'm not leaving my living room. I will have the TV on pretty much 24 hours a day, I think, watching sports beginning tonight with the Seattle at Arizona game. And of course, tomorrow we'll talk more college and NFL with Sean Salisbury. But each and every Thursday at 4:00, we talk with Chris Landry from LandryFootball.com. And I really want to spend a moment or two talking to him about that Oregon-Penn State game. And it just seems like Penn State can't win the big game. This is a big game. 6th-ranked Oregon coming into Happy Valley, a whiteout. That's a big game. LSU at number 4 on the road at Ole Miss. That is going to be a heck of a game. And then, of course, you have Alabama and Georgia from Athens, 2 top 20 teams. I don't think either team is as good as they normally are. I don't know if they, particularly Georgia, they should not have won at Tennessee. They won at Tennessee because they got conservative. I know it's not an easy place to play, but we'll talk about that coming up with Chris Landry. LandryFootball.com, right here, the Grant Napear Show on Fox Sports Sacramento.
Fox Sports traffic. We're working an earlier accident. You're going to find this on US 50 eastbound, just on the approach to Bidwell Street, not really causing that much of a slowdown. I-80 eastbound on the approach to Madison Avenue. Got a traffic hazard in North Sacramento being reported. Not too sure exactly what the hazard is, but give yourself a couple of extra minutes through there. Heavy rush hour delays starting to exist, especially I-5 southbound in between Top of the Town Freeway and US 50. With Twice an Hour traffic, I'm Andy Bass for Fox Sports Sacramento.
Looking for the ultimate night out? Welcome to HQ Showgirls, Sacramento's premier adult gentlemen's club. We're the only topless club between Reno and San Francisco, serving alcohol, beer, wine, and champagne. All inside over 6,000 square feet of pure excitement. Planning a party or a VIP night? Call our VIP manager now at 916-389-0199 to book your table. Come experience the energy at HQ Showgirls, 851 Richards Boulevard, Sacramento. Open 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Sunday through Thursday and until 4 a.m. Friday and Saturday. Visit HQNightclub.com, where the night begins and never stops.
Hi, it's Margot from Bennett's Restaurants. At Bennett's, it's all about bold flavors and fresh handcrafted food served with genuine hospitality. Craving prime hand-cut steaks? We've got them. Fresh salmon, halibut, or giant Mexican prawns? We've got those too. At Bennett's, we serve premium seafood and steaks in a relaxed setting. Whether you're joining us for a special night out or a casual bite, we'll treat you like family every time. Find us in Sacramento, Roseville, and Rockland. View our menus and make a reservation at bennettsrestaurants.com.
Remember, always be generous with the nutmeg. Just eyeball it.
Okay.
Mom's wisdom has served you well, but now it may be your turn to guide her.
Hey, I'm worried about Mom. She keeps forgetting her famous sweet potato pie recipe.
Some things come with age, sis.
And some don't.
Knowing the early signs of Alzheimer's in a loved one will help you make the best decisions for your family. Visit 10signs.org to learn the signs. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Listen up, guys. Are you experiencing any of the following? Fatigue, less drive, poor performance? If so, you may be one of the nearly 30 million men in the U.S. today dealing with ED. But did you know you don't have to pay hundreds for a prescription anymore? And you don't have to deal with the hassle of seeing the doctor or the embarrassment of going to the pharmacy for a certain pill. Now, with one free call, you can find out how Herbal Virility Max can help you feel like a man again. For over a decade, Herbal Virility Max has helped guys just like you put a smile back on their face with improved performance and drive. Call today and ask about our buy one, get one free offer.
800-690-8445. 800-690-8445. 800-690-8445. That's 800-690-8445.
The voice of Sacramento sports is back.
Hear Grant Napear every weekday beginning at 3 right here. KSAC 890 AM Olivehurst, K284CM 104.7 FM Sacramento.
Hour number 2, Fox Sports Sacramento. Boy, how about a lineup on Saturday? College football. Chris Landry. Check out his website, LandryFootball.com. He joins us every Thursday at 4 o'clock. Chris, hope you're doing well. How are you?
I am doing great. We were just talking about what a great lineup this weekend. College football's loaded. NFL's always good. Baseball pennant races last week is right. I mean, it's a fun time of year. But everything kind of convergence. It's going to be a big weekend. Ryder Cup starting tomorrow morning. A lot of stuff.
Great.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I can't wait. I can't wait. That Oregon-Penn State game, number 6 against number 3, a whiteout, Happy Valley. That should be a dandy. Your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, I really like both of these teams from a talent standpoint. I do think that Oregon has been tested a little bit more. Penn State's schedule's ridiculous. I don't think they've done themselves any favors. I mean, they haven't really been tested at all. So to me, we're going to see what they have. Look, they have a good quarterback. Both of these teams' quarterbacks are outstanding. There's a lot of weapons at Penn State to throw to. James Franklin struggled in some of these big games. Now it is going to be a night game, a whiteout. So, and Ohio State's beaten him, but he's been pretty good otherwise. So something's got to give here. I think there's a lot of pressure on James to get this done. He's got the advantage at home. He had time to prepare, a whole week to prepare, and has not played anybody yet. So everybody's healthy. It's going to be really interesting. And both of these teams, I think, have the talent to certainly advance deep into the playoffs. And I don't think this game is going to define either team. I think the loser could very well and likely make the playoffs. But certainly this is going to be big in terms of seeding. And, listen, if you're Penn State and you lose this game and then you lose to Penn State, then I think you got some issues there. And I think Oregon's probably in the same boat. The loser of this game, they've got some wiggle room, but not as much as if you win it.
The thing about this game, neither Oregon or Penn State have played anybody. They've had a cupcake schedule. So do we really know truly how good either of these teams are?
A little bit more with Oregon because Penn State's schedule has been ridiculous. I mean, it's been like
right. It's a joke.
I mean, it's been ridiculous.
Right.
It really
right.
is. It's
like
it's not even. They should be embarrassed by it. With Oregon. They've played people that have. In some cases they've been pretty good and they dominated them. So look, we're getting into the time of year. I mean, we're week 5 in college football. A lot of good conference matchups now. So it's this is where the rubber meets the road, and this is where we're going to learn a lot about both of these teams. So we'll get a good feel for it. And again, I think the question is probably the biggest question in this game is, can James Franklin, who's won a lot of games against opponents he should beat, but boy, when it comes to teams that are as good as he is or better, he usually doesn't win those games. So I think this is a chance for him to at least, while they may be a little bit better than Oregon, I think it's close enough to say, hey, if you don't screw it up, James, you should be able to get this one, and this is a big feather in your cap.
All right, let's move on to some other games that I think are going to be right up there with that one, and where you are, LSU, but they're on the road going to Ole Miss. How good do you think Ole Miss is this year, and how do you handicap this game?
Well, as always, Lane Kiffin has his offense humming. He's got 2 good quarterbacks. They throw the quarterback run element in. They run with a lot of pace. They like to run the football, and then they'll get you sucked up, and then they'll throw it over top of you. They'll score points. LSU's got a really good-looking defense. They're very athletic. This is going to be about a matchup between, Baker and Kiffin and coordinators, because Kiffin is the play caller for Ole Miss. Really, if you look at Weiss, young Charlie Weiss's boy, is kind of the key, play caller, but Lane's got his hands on it. It's going to be about how aggressive will LSU's defense be, and will Ole Miss gash them for some plays? Because LSU can make big plays on defense, but against an Ole Miss offense, you can live by the sword, die by the sword. You're not going to shut Ole Miss out. This is not going to be a 2017 game. This is going to be a high-scoring game, and can LSU's offense keep up in a high-scoring game? That's going to be key, because thus far, LSU struggled to run the football. They don't stay committed to the run, and they've got some problems on the right side of their offensive line picking up twists and stunts. So I think this is going to be interesting to see.
All right, and then staying in the SEC, 5th-ranked Georgia hosting 17th-ranked Alabama. Georgia this year, again, they're ranked number 5. Watching the Tennessee game, a shootout. I thought they got lucky to win that game, but it's on the road, not an easy place to play. And there is no easy place to play in the SEC on the road. But what do you think? Does Alabama have a logistic chance, do you think, to go in, and a legitimate chance to beat Georgia in Athens?
Oh, they do. They do. They absolutely have a chance, because they have the talent to do it, and it starts there. Georgia is not flashy. They're just solid, as they always are, and they're certainly at home. Kirby's 1-6 against Alabama. Most of that is against Saban. But look, I mean, they just laid an egg the first half, if you remember last year's game in Alabama,
yes,
and then came back and almost won it. I think I favor Georgia a little bit, but this Alabama team, I realize they've not played tough teams since Florida State, but their offense is in rhythm. The quarterback is really good, but he's going to get tested more. I think it's, the defenses and which ones are able to stand up, make big plays, who can run the football the best. I trust Georgia just a little bit more, but I got to tell you, I mean, I'm not surprised either way who wins this game. I think it's that close. And look, here's the other storyline is, Alabama's not eliminated if they lose the game, because this would be only one loss within the SEC. But they've got some tough teams to play the rest of the way. I think this is a really big time game for Alabama. There's a path to the playoffs if they lose, but it's going to have to come through running the table through the SEC, and I just don't know that's just not going to be real easy. So I think it's big, but it's probably like more desperation for Alabama to win this game.
Auburn is not ranked, but after watching them play at Oklahoma, where, let's face it, Chris, they got screwed on a couple of calls. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, they go to Texas A&M, ranked 9th. Do you think Auburn's going to be able to get off the mat, not necessarily to win the game, but to make this game competitive? And listen, that's what you do. You've been covering football your whole life. That game on Saturday in Norman, you got to be scratching your head at some of those calls and the mistakes that the officials made.
No question about it. And then as you talk about it, and I don't know if you heard, but I don't know why the timing. What an awful timing. The athletic director at Auburn put out a statement today, an email of talking about, the game. It's Thursday. I mean,
I didn't see that today. He put out a statement. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, he put out a statement. In fact, I think it was within the last hour. Well, I mean, nice job putting it to bed. Okay, I mean, bring it up on Thursday before you go to College Station. Yeah, no, listen, you got holes, no question. That's a conversation you have for Monday after the game, and then you let it go. So I don't know how Auburn responds to that. And that's it, AD. And we all know how they feel about that. However, there's some things that you could have done a lot better in that game. And if you have the woe is me, A&M will just crack you defensively. Now, I wonder a little bit. Marcel Reese of A&M is very inconsistent as a passer, but he's very athletic. This A&M defense is good. And boy, does A&M have some receivers. So Auburn better be ready to play. Their secondary better be ready. If their mind is right, they absolutely have a chance to go on the road and beat A&M. They do. But boy, if I hope they're not singing the same tune as their AD, or else they're going to get run out of College Station.
Chris, let's move to the NFL and Jackson Dart. Do you think that Brian Dable made this move much earlier than he was expecting because this is the last guy that can save his job? Or do you also think that it has to do with the fans of New York who are disgusted with what they're seeing? A home game coming up against a really good Chargers. There's a lot that's going into this move, but let's start with Jackson Dart. Do you think he's ready for this based on watching him in his college career and the limited preseason action that he had?
He's not ready. He's not going to be able to run an entire offense. They did not want to play him this soon because they're looking at the long game with him. They want to develop him properly. They've been down this road before, with a quarterback that's playing pretty well in Indianapolis, by the way, but they didn't do a good job around him and didn't maybe develop him properly. And all of a sudden, hey, he's no good. He's gone and he's succeeding somewhere else. They don't want that to happen again. It's tough enough to find a quarterback, but when you have one that's pretty good and you've got, something to work with, if you don't develop them correctly, all you do, people will say things like, well, you can't learn by sitting on the bench. Baloney. Okay, because I'm telling you, practice doesn't make perfect, it makes permanent. So if you're not prepared, you go into games and you tend to revert back into freelance and you make mistakes, which you have to go back and you almost have to retrain somebody. You've got to basically correct the mistakes, but retrain a guy. So they didn't want to play him this soon. But they also didn't expect to have Russell Wilson stink as bad as he did. And Russ is still, living in the 2-3 passes he made against Dallas as he's back, and he wants to cook again. Well, no, thank you. That meal doesn't taste very good. The decisions he made last week are decisions that, anybody could make, a rookie. There's really no options right now. I thought maybe they'd consider, we'll try Winston for a couple of weeks. We know that wasn't going to work well either, but to delay having to play him. Here's what I hope. It's nothing, not trying to take up for Brian, but ownership needs to understand, okay, we're going to play this young guy. We're going to have to put a lot of college stuff in. So they've reached out to young Charlie Weiss and Lane about things that Jackson Dart, because they did that in the offseason. But so they've got a package that they're going to run for him that's going to be kind of collegiate, at least of what he can do. And look, that's going to work to a point at times, but it's not going to be good enough. They're not good enough around him to hide him. So I think that how they handle him is going to be critical. But I also think it's important that ownership understands that this is a long game, that they need a better roster. I think it's fair to question the GM and say, look, they've done a poor job with this roster. They've been here long enough. But I also think it's important to understand that if they're going to play this guy, that you're going to have to take some lumps. Lumps that you might be able to live with a little bit if he makes some mistakes like Russell Wilson did. You can't live with that, with what Russell Wilson is doing, because that's not going to get any better. With Dart, it could get better. It just may not be good enough this year. I think we're going to see him play well for stretches. But I also think as people get film on him, it's going to be pretty easy to bait him in mistakes. So we'll see and hope he doesn't get beat up, because he's probably going to run a little bit more too.
Well, listen, the Giants' offensive line is terrible. They better hope that Andrew Thomas can take a full game at the left tackle. But Joe Shane has done a terrible job with his offensive line evaluations. And, Chris, you've been in football all your life. You've been in a lot of different organizations. I just don't have confidence with teams, not just the Giants, young quarterbacks that play behind shaky offensive lines. I mean, I just don't know how they're supposed to excel. I really don't.
They don't. And it happens to everyone. Look, it happens on a different level when Patrick Mahomes can't get protection in the Super Bowl against Philadelphia, or remember against Tampa.
It was against Tampa. They didn't score a touchdown.
Well, it couldn't do anything. Why? Superman, in a number 15 jersey couldn't do it with an offensive line. Well, how do you expect someone that's young and certainly not the level of Patrick Mahomes for him to do it? Not going to be able to do it. Now, you can win games, and they got as far as the Super Bowl, but they're not going to go all the way. I think that's the problem, and you can talk about a young quarterback. They may have something special here in him, but boy, if they don't protect him and they don't build around him, you know what? He's going to end up moving on and being successful somewhere else that has a better offensive line. And that's again is what we're talking about: organizations and structure and good evaluations versus bad evaluations.
Final thing for you. I want to talk to you about the 49ers defense and the impact going forward for the rest of the year now without Nick Bosa.
It's tough. I mean, that team, I just feel bad. You know, you feel like you've been in situations like this where it's one injury and after another, and it happens for 2 years now. And you think, am I under a bad cloud? Have I done something to really tick somebody off upstairs? You know, what's going on? They're going to have to look. I think they feel like they're a good team. They're a competitive team. I think they're going to have to maybe look at making a move. It's going to be interesting how they play the next 2 or 3 weeks, to whether they're going to be a buyer before the trade deadline, which is 6 weeks away. But the next 2 or 3 weeks are going to be pivotal, and they're going to have to make a decision of, look, do we feel we're good enough to where we can make a move? Because there are going to be some sellers now. I mean, there's some teams that are struggling that are going to be sellers. Maybe add a guy that maybe you not just do it for the rest of this year, but to make a move. It's a chance to make a move to fortify some of the issues on the defense. Because remember, they were really a deep defensive line, but you lose certain guys, injuries, and guys move on. They're not the same looking team. So when I look at them, I see, they're off to a good start record wise, but they're not that good. They're kind of just, band-aiding it, and I just don't see that lasting. So I don't think that they have all the answers to answer your question. And for them, this is a team that's built around running game, good defense, field position, smart quarterback, distributing the ball. When you start to lose some of those pieces around it, that quarterback is not 15 in Kansas City or Josh Allen in Buffalo that can put the team on his back and at least get him deep into the playoffs just by him carrying a team. That's not what the Niners are. They're a product of a really strong team with a lot of components, and they don't have all of that right now. So they're managing to win here or there, but I don't think it's sustainable unless they can get some breaks health-wise.
Great stuff, Chris. Enjoy this upcoming awesome schedule of football, and we'll chat with you next Thursday.
Hey, look forward to it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Chris Landry, LandryFootball.com. We've got phone calls to get to when we come back. Frank, James, you're the first two up, and others, you can get on deck as well at 916-779-0929 right here on Fox Sports Sacramento.
Fox Sports traffic. We're starting to get real busy throughout all of Sacramento. You're dealing with a couple of new problems as well. I-5 northbound right at Consumes River Boulevard off-ramp. Give yourself a couple of extra minutes through there. US 50 at Sunrise Boulevard and US 50 at 10th Street. Still got a couple of problems lingering through there. Give yourself about 25 extra minutes to work your way through both those problems. With Twice an Hour traffic, I'm Andy Bass for Fox Sports Sacramento.
Traffic brought to you by Gabroods Electrical. Homeowners, for any electrical project you need done, trust the good dudes at Gabroods. Locally owned, 5-star service experts, and always transparent prices and solutions. Say goodbye to your electrical issues with Gabroods. GUBRUDS.com.
This National Recovery Month Minute is brought to you by ChooseChangeCA.org. So many things, big and little, make you uniquely you, your hobbies, dreams, career, family, and more. Addiction to drugs, including opioids and stimulants, can strip these away from you. This National Recovery Month, recover your life, choose treatment for drug addiction, and get back to what matters most. Treatment is available in many forms through primary care doctor, licensed narcotic treatment programs, outpatient treatment programs, licensed residential facilities, and even virtual care. Help is within reach. You can recover. Find a proven treatment option that's right for you. Recover you at ChooseChangeCA.org. That's ChooseChangeCA.org. That's ChooseChangeCA.org. Brought to you by ChooseChangeCA.org. Recover you.
Hey, it's Grant Napear. Do you need a maintenance check or an emergency repair on a heating or cooling unit?
DAS Mechanical will take care of all of your heating, cooling, ventilation, and energy needs. DAS Mechanical will provide you with a full consultation. They'll explain all of your available options so that you can choose the system that's right for your home or business. And DAS Mechanical serves both residential and commercial clients, and they offer a variety of money-serving solutions. Go check out their website, dasmechanical.org, and look at all of their 5-star reviews and their best of awards. And remember, special financing is available, including 0% interest for 18 months. Again, check out dasmechanical.org. That's dasmechanical.org. Their awesome reviews, their awards. Can't go wrong at dasmechanical.org.
Snakes, zombies, public speaking, the list of fears is endless. But the real danger is in your hand when you're behind the wheel. Distracted driving is what's really scary and even deadly. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Good stuff from Chris Landry, LandryFootball.com. Let's get to some phone calls. Thanks for hanging on. We start with Frank in Elk Grove. Hi, Frank. Frank, you there? All right, Frank is not there. He was on hold for a long time. How about James in Elk Grove? Hello, James. James, we'll get to you next. How are you? Hello, James. I'm 0 for 2, Rhino. I don't want to go 0 for 3 because you get 1 strike and you're out. 2 strikes and you're out. 3 strikes is not good. They don't want to hang on hold that long, buddy. What do you think about that?
I know. They were on hold for a minute. Let's see if they call back.
They were on hold for the whole Chris Landry interview. You guys can call back. I'll put you on at 916-779-0929. I do want to get back to the topic at hand before we talk some football. And Chris Landry is great. I love the guy's knowledge. He's I love the way he breaks down these games. And tomorrow, Sean Salisbury, we'll talk more NFL than college tomorrow with Sean. But so, rolling the dice when you're a bad team, and let's not kid anybody. All right. The Kings are a bad franchise. All right. Now that can change, right? If you get the right players, you get a little momentum going. I mean, the Kings were a bad team before they got Vlade Divac and drafted Jason Williams and traded for Chris Webber. They were a horrible team. And then overnight, they became one of the best teams in the league. So, it's not like it can't happen. The Warriors were a bad team that nobody wanted to play on. And pretty much within a short period of time, they became, again, the darlings of the NBA and won multiple championships. So for those of you that don't think it can happen, it can happen. I just gave you 2 examples. So I'm with you. You need to roll the dice. But, boy, when you roll the dice on something like this, you better make the right decision.
I don't see it as big of a risk. And I love Malik. I just think we know what we're going to get out of Malik. And I guess the question would be, as Malik's contract gets closer and closer to coming up, would he be with the Kings beyond that? And I think you have a chance here with Jonathan Kuminga that is somewhat low risk. And the red flags for me, Grant, aren't as big of a deal in this sense. When he came off the bench in the playoffs, when Steph Curry got hurt, he played well. And that's when he was in the doghouse, right? He responded. He stayed ready. So for me, that kind of calms that.
Time will tell. If this is going to happen, I hope it happens really soon because the last thing you want is to have a training camp and right before you start a season with a brutal schedule that you make a significant change. So I think if you're looking at not wasting this season, you better, if you're going to do this, you better do it this week. Or you better do it soon.
Yeah, you've got to have a full training camp, in my opinion. You
got a new point guard, not new by years experience, but new with the team. And he has not been practicing and working out with the guys because he was playing in Europe. So where he was the only player not here this month, which is fine. We understand why that is. But, if there's anyone that needs to indoctrinate himself with the other players, it's him. And last thing you want to do is have everyone get on a rhythm and then 3 weeks from now make a significant trade. So, and I this
move, and maybe I'm wrong, without consulting with DeMar DeRozan first. Not that you would say to DeMar, we're not doing this if you're not happy, but you better read the room, okay? You better read the room, because an NBA locker room is small. And if one of your most talented players, one of your most accomplished players is unhappy, there are a lot of players, Rhino, that don't want to go from being a starter their whole career to the bench. They don't want to do it. Now, you can say, well, gee, they're a professional, they're getting paid, and it shouldn't be like that. Well, you can say all you want. The reality is there are a number of guys that are not going to be okay with that. That's just the reality of the situation.
You're spot on. And DeMar's a guy that you leaned on heavily last year. Really, DeMar, you can almost thank him single-handedly for having the Kings' net ratings stay right around even, although they were only 500 or a game below towards the first quarter of the season. And if not for DeMar in that play-in game, you're losing by 40. And I think DeMar Grant from last season, if I read the room of the fan base based off of our post-game shows, he's a guy that got a lot of heat for slowing the basketball game down. But when you brought DeMar DeRozan in, you knew that's what he does.
I will make a prediction that if this trade occurs and DeMar DeRozan ends up on the bench, you will hear rumors within a few days that he wants out of Sacramento, and their agents are going to put on a full court press the same way they did with De'Aaron Fox last year to move him. Now, that's not the worst situation, but the Kings better make sure, unlike Fox, where I still don't think they got value for him, it better not be a panic move just because you want to unload him. I think DeMar DeRozan would be really good, Rhino, on a good team. There's no doubt in my mind, but you better make sure you get something back for him. I understand his age. I understand his salary, but here's what I know. He can still play at a high level, particularly on offense, and he could fit in with a lot of good teams in the NBA.
Very well. He would put some of these teams that think they could be contenders possibly over the top. And some fans are saying, well, they might get traded.
I'm with you.
Around the trade deadline. Yeah, you don't want to lose DeMar for below market value because you're having the player force himself out. I guess I want to go back to this reported promise about a starting job for Jonathan Kuminga. You know, what if that promise came from Scott Perry and didn't come from Doug Christie? How does that jive if all of a sudden you have Jonathan Kuminga in the building?
Well, I've told you this, and I'm going to say it again for those of you that may not have heard it last week. If I'm Doug Christie, okay, I realize that this is the only place in the NBA that I could be a head coach, and that I am only a head coach because of favoritism. All right. I hate to say it, but that's the reality of the situation. And that you're a head coach that your general manager would have never hired. All right. So because of those reasons, and because you're the lowest paid coach in the NBA, okay, you better coach the team the way you want to now that you are the head coach. You better coach the team the way Doug Christie wants to coach the team, not the way Scott Perry or Vivek Ranadive or Mike Woodson or anyone else. You're the head coach. You make the decisions. You need to live and die with the decisions that you make and not somebody else. So if it were me, that's how I would coach the team. I'm not saying Doug will, but if you want to be successful, you better realize that you're responsible for the wins and you're responsible for the losses, and you better coach the team that gives you the best chance for the most wins, or you will not be a head coach anymore in the league. And you won't be a head coach in the league ever again. So you better take advantage of this opportunity right now.
He's got to do it his way. Certainly. You know, as you talked about at the beginning of the segment, or maybe a segment before, the Kings and being one of the worst ownership groups and management groups in the NBA. As we sit here and we're talking about this promise of a starting position, I can't think of another team that's publicly come out and said or seen a report, hey, part of you coming to Sacramento is you're going to get a starting position. It's just does that hit you as odd with as many years in the league that you've had?
It is odd. And just so you know, that has not been confirmed by anybody, you know, Scott Perry,
Sure.
well, they can't. But
Right.
I mean, that's only been speculative. So it may not even be true. And we may be talking about a trade that were to happen, that where Kuminga would not start and he would come off the bench. So just keep that in mind. That's always a possibility. Hey, we'll open up the phone lines on this at 916-779-0929. I would like to get your reaction to this. Don't forget, coming up at 5 o'clock, we've got Grant's Rant. But I really want to get into this. We got so much going on. Here's the other thing, Rhino. If I told you you could only watch 1 3-hour block or 4-hour block of TV this week with only one event, are you watching Ryder Cup, one of the big college football games on Saturday, a big NFL game or whatever NFL game of your choice, or something else?
So hard, because is the Ryder Cup going to be competitive on Sunday? That figures into it.
Yeah, because if it's competitive on Sunday, I might choose the last grouping of match play, right?
Yeah.
To watch the conclusion of that. If I couldn't watch that, I'm probably going to watch Dallas Green Bay on Sunday night.
I might look at.
I want to see. I think the Cowboys are going to get smushed on Sunday night.
You think America is going to enjoy that too if that happens? I mean,
yes.
Outside of Dallas, a lot of people don't like that America's team moniker that's been put on them. I want to see vindication for Micah Parsons. I want him to come in, play well. I hope the Dallas crowd respects him. And, you know, what do you think about all these teams and the big deal that's made out of tribute videos now? Because Jerry's come out and said, we're not.
It's gone overboard. But it's all society, you know, the participation trophies and all of this other nonsense. I wouldn't have done it for De'Aaron Fox last year. I was very open about that. I wouldn't have done it. Why would you give him a tribute video with the way he left town? And then the comments that he made when he got to San Antonio. I just personally would not have done it. That's not how I'm going to run my organization. I know there are others that are like, you know what, Grant, but the other players see that and it's just the right thing to do. No, you know what? The right thing to do is to run your team with some onions. That's the right way to run your team. Okay. That's the way you should run your organization, and stop giving out participation trophies and stop doing something because, well, other teams are doing it. No. Run your freaking team the right way. Run your team the way the majority of your fans also would like to see you run your team. So in my opinion, I'm great with tribute videos if that individual truly deserves a tribute video. I'm fine. I love it. I think it's a great touch. I think it's classy. But there are times where, in my opinion, it's unwarranted.
Well, I think it's also used as a grooming tool for the fans if ownership or management is worried about that player getting a negative response, because regardless of whether you get a good video or not, the biggest tribute is if you get a standing ovation from the people in attendance that watched you play for so many years.
Correct. That's correct. And was the reaction mixed when De'Aaron Fox came into town last year for the first time?
It was mostly cheers. There were a couple of mixed boos, but
right, exactly.
Yeah, it's going to be that way anyways, though, Grant. You're always going to have a couple people that go the other way.
Yeah. Again, you know me. I'm not a bells and whistles guy. I'm not a fluff guy. I'm not into all of this nonsense. Okay. I am okay with tribute videos when a player deserves them. I think they're great, actually. I think they're phenomenal. I think it's incredible for the fans and the organization. I'm all for it. Okay. But I'll give you an example. I thought your tribute video that the Warriors did for Klay Thompson last year was absolutely epic and unbelievable.
The entire thing.
And that's somebody that deserves it.
The entire thing, giving out the
it was great, wasn't it?
hats. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. All right, let's come back after this break and open up the phone lines at 916-779-0929. Don't forget Grant's Rant coming up at 5 o'clock. We've got Thursday Night Football if you want to talk about Seattle at Arizona. All of that ahead here on the Grant Napear Show.
Looking for for the ultimate night out? Welcome to HQ Showgirls, Sacramento's premier adult gentlemen's club. We're the only topless club between Reno and San Francisco serving alcohol, beer, wine, and champagne. All inside over 6,000 square feet of pure excitement. Planning a party or a VIP night? Call our VIP manager now at 916-389-0199 to book your table. Come experience the energy at HQ Showgirls, 851 Richards Boulevard, Sacramento. Open 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Sunday through Thursday and until 4 a.m. Friday and Saturday. Visit hqnightclub.com, where the night begins and never stops.
It's Laramie the Golden Retriever with Vince Bloom the big guy.
The weather's getting cooler, but at Folsom Lake Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, the deals are hotter than ever.
How do you mean, Vince?
It's the Drive Into Fall event, and prices are falling like leaves on every Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram in stock. Listen.
During the Drive Into Fall event at Folsom Lake Dodge, save over $6,500 net savings off MSRP on a new 2025 Jeep Wrangler 2-door Sport. That's over 17% off.
And I've got 5 at this hot deal.
Or rustle up over $10,000 off a new 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. Over 19% off.
The Drive Into Fall at Folsom Lake Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Even Laramie knows now is the time for a deal. Right, Laramie?
At Folsom Lake Dodge.
In the Folsom Auto Mall and online at FolsomLakeDodge.com.
Wrangler includes $44.85 dealer discount plus $2,000 in national retail bonus cash. VIN SE 658348. Grand Cherokee includes $45.25 dealer discount plus $5,500 in national retail loyalty and select inventory bonus cash. VINs S8667701, 629-387, 669458. See dealer for details. Expires 9/30/25.
For more than 4 decades, Sierra Pacific Home and Comfort has been trusted by home and business owners for their professional expertise in heating, air conditioning, and solar energy. Your home is your castle, and at Sierra Pacific, we thank you for 40 great years of trusting us to protect your castle. Sierra Pacific Home and Comfort, solar, heating, and air. SierraPacificHome.com.
Sierra Pacific Solar Heating and Air. The guys in the big red trucks.
Hey, movie fans, playing this week at the Esquire IMAX Theater in downtown Sacramento, one battle after another, the IMAX Experience.
The message is clear.
I'll be seeing you very soon.
Not if I see you first.
Leonardo DiCaprio and Sean Penn star in this action thriller as Group X revolutionaries reunite to rescue the daughter of one of their own. Shot in VistaVision widescreen format, the best theater to experience one battle after another is on the Esquire IMAX Theater 6-story screen. Grab your reserved seats today at IMAX.com/Sacramento.
Hi, it's Margot from Bennett's Restaurants. Who says Mondays have to be boring? At Bennett's, Mondays are made for wine and dine. For just $65, enjoy 2 full entrees, 2 salads, and a bottle of wine. Perfect for date night or dinner with a friend. That's a complete dinner for 2 with wine. Treat yourself to our crave-worthy favorites, like our prawn linguine or short rib with mashed potatoes. Join us this Monday in Roseville, Rockland, or Sacramento. Reserve now at bennettsrestaurants.com. Make Monday the new fun day at Bennett's.
Investors, keep listening to learn how to get your free gold report. A currency crisis is upon us. The U.S. dollar has been the world's reserve currency for over 50 years, but that is changing. It's time to protect your retirement. Decades of reckless borrowing and spending have critically weakened the dollar. The U.S. has become the world's biggest debtor with over $35 trillion in debt. Plus, the dollar's become weaponized. Countries are dumping it. Investors who wait until it's too late could lose big. There is one safe haven: gold. Diversify your portfolio with a physical asset they can't take away. Call the Reagan Gold Group right now and ask for your free gold guide. Here's our number.
800-941-4184. 800-941-4184. 800-941-4184. That's 800-941-4184.
My thanks to Steve Albert for coming on the show in hour number 1. Earlier this hour, Chris Landry to talk some college and NFL football. You know, in reading Steve Albert's book, a funny thing happened on the way to the broadcast booth. He has so many incredible stories in his book, and they're amazing. And again, he's done incredible things. So I've just gotten a couple of messages about my funny stories on the way to the broadcast booth. And I have many that I could talk about. I also have moments that Steve mentioned where you're in a situation that you're not really programmed for, that
you have to figure out, and I've been in many of situations as well where you have to really adapt on the fly. You have to change course. You have to go from doing what you were doing, and then all of a sudden something huge happens that has nothing to do with what your subject matter was or the game that you're announcing, and you have to make a transition. And I've had to do that on many, many instances. Well, not many, but I've had to do that several times. And then there are other times in life, and I think this is true not only in sports, but I think it's true in whatever occupation you are, whatever career choice, whatever life choices, where nothing can really prepare you other than the confidence that you have in yourself. And that happened to me the first time that I was ever on national television, or on television, not only national television. The only time I had been in front of a quote unquote TV camera was in a broadcasting class at Bowling Green State University in a small little studio. That never went over the air, by the way. It was the California Bowl. I've told this story before on my podcast, when I was working in Bowling Green at a commercial radio station, WKIQ, and Bowling Green had made it to the California Bowl. And they were playing Fresno State in Fresno. And my dad's mixed doubles tennis partner on Long Island, her husband owned the Ms. Lou Sports Network, Vic Piano. And the Ms. Lou Sports Network back then did a lot of the bowl games. They were basically like ESPN and did a lot of the bowl games. And Vic Piano had always said to my dad, if there's anything we can do to help out Grant, let me know. Make a long story short, I called Vic Piano and told him about what was going on, that I worked at Bowling Green and covered Bowling Green football and Bowling Green hockey and basketball, and that they were going to the California Bowl, blah, blah, blah. And he said, okay, I'm going to give you the name of my producer, Bill Schwing. And I called Bill. Bill's the executive producer. And it was not a long conversation. And Bill said, okay, meet me at this hotel in Fresno at 6:00 on Friday night, the day before the game. So I go to this meeting, and there's probably, 10 people there. I think there were the camera operators. There was the play-by-play announcer, Howard David, the analyst, Bill, and I think the director. All right. So there's probably 10 people. And I'm at this conference room in Fresno, and I'm just hanging out. And at the end of the meeting, Bill goes, now, I'm sorry, who are you again, and what are you doing? How about that? He didn't even know who I was or what I was doing there, but yet he still let me, I went through the whole meeting just observing it. And I said, I'm Grant Napear. I talked to you on the phone. He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, now, what is it that you want to do? I said, well, I'm just here. If there's anything that you need, anything I can do. He said, well, I am looking for someone. I could use someone. He didn't say I'm looking. He said, I could use someone to do the halftime because I'd love to give my announcers a couple of minutes break so they can go to the restroom, et cetera. He said, but I can't just let you go on our air. He goes, this is national TV. And I said, I understand that. I said, hey, if I'm not good enough to go on your network, then then don't put me on. He said, okay, get to the stadium 3 hours ahead of time and I'll give you an audition. And he said, if you do a good job, I'll let you do the halftime. And if not, then I'll just say, I'm sorry, it's not going to work. I said, perfect. And I've told this story. I get to the game, and they're having all these technical difficulties in the truck. And 3 hours I'm there in the studio and I'm waiting. And then 2 hours I'm waiting. And then 1 hour I'm waiting. And the stage manager says they're not going to be able to do an audition. They've just got too many problems going on. I'm like, okay. So I figured I'm not doing the halftime. And the game starts. And the first quarter comes to a close. And the second quarter starts. And finally, about halfway through the second quarter, during a commercial break, I said to the stage manager, I said, hey, can you ask Bill if I'm going to be doing halftime or not? Again, national television. I've never been on TV before. And she comes back to me. She goes, yeah, you're going to interview the commissioner of the conference, and then you'll just do a quick highlight package. I'm like, okay. Now, again, I've never been on TV before, but I've been practicing to be on TV my whole life. I've done a lot of play-by-play. I've done broadcasting, but I've never been in front of a TV camera before other than make-believe in a TV broadcasting class at Bowling Green. And so I do the interview with Jim Lessick. I still remember his name, the commissioner of the Mid-American Conference. And I do a quick highlights package. And at the end of that, they put a full page graphic up with stats. And I throw it a break. We'll come back with the second half here on the Ms. Lou Sports Network. And I thought I did okay. You know, you never really know how you do. And I really mean that. Even when I used to do NBA games or other games, like you never really know how you do until you get feedback or you go back and watch the game. There are many times I thought I've made a mistake or I've done a bad job or that I mispronounced something or whatever. And then you go back and watch it and you realize, oh, no, it was fine. No problem. So at the end of the game, I'm walking out of the stadium and I pass the TV truck. And right as I'm passing the TV truck, Bill Schwing happens to walk out. And he says, Grant. And he goes, oh, my God. And he said, you have no idea how nervous we all were when we put you on camera. He goes, we were all nervous. And he said, but you did a great job. And I wish you the very best in your broadcasting career. Exhale. I was like, oh, my gosh. Thank goodness. So I get back to Bowling Green. I'm not going to go into the whole travel escapade. I get back to Bowling Green. And a couple of weeks later, actually a couple of months later, Jim Tishy, who is the sports director at the ABC station in Toledo that I had always seen. We saw him at all the hockey games, the football games. You know, he was the sports director and on air at the ABC TV station in Toledo, WDHO. Still remember it. And he goes, I didn't know. He comes up to me, goes, Grant, how you doing? I go, hey, Jim, how are you? He goes, I didn't know you did TV. I go, I didn't either. And he said, hey, listen, my weekend guy has to fill in for me. I have 6 weeks vacation this summer. Would you be interested in coming up to the station and doing an audition? Because I'm looking for someone to fill in for him. I'm like, yeah, sure, I would love to. And I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. It was my birthday. And it was June 18th, 2003. And I go to the TV station. And I've never been in a television studio in my life. And the news director comes up to me and he goes, hey, here's a couple of scripts or a couple script papers. And, you know, write a couple of scripts and we'll walk into the studio and you can do your audition. So I put the script in the typewriter and the teleprompter back then, they had the big font so you could see it. But anybody that knows my career, I don't like reading off scripts. I like to make it up as I go along. But I'm like, well, I'm going to have to write what I'm going to say. And he said, you know, do 3 or 4 minutes worth. So I walk into the studio. I've got like 8 or 9 scripts, all right, different sports. And I walk into the studio and the news director is pointing everything out to me. And he said, this is the pedal to run your teleprompter. And I'm like, what? And he said, yeah, you run your own teleprompter. We don't have a person to run the teleprompter. You see the pedal down there? There's like an old sewing machine that you had to tap your foot to move your script on the teleprompter. So I'm nervous as can be. And now I got to run the teleprompter. And the news director said, get comfortable. And he said, you let me know when you're ready to go. So I'm practicing the teleprompter real quick because I wanted to make sure that I knew how to do this. And I'm like, okay, I think this is going to work. I said, okay, I'm ready to go. And I do my sportscast. And the news director goes, are you okay with that? Or would you like to do it again? And my response was, well, you don't get a chance to do it again when you're live, correct? And he goes, no, you don't. I get a call the next day from Jim Tishy. Had a message on my answering machine. Hey, the news director said you're fine, said you're all good. And he goes, I can't pay you a lot. We can only pay you $5 an hour. I'm like, no problem. And the radio station that I had been working at, WKIQ, had been sold, and they changed format to a Spanish station. So I was out of a job. So I moved back to Long Island, lived at home for a while. And Mike Regai, who left that station in Toledo to go to anchor sports in Cleveland, and then later became the television voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Baltimore Orioles. Michael Regai, good friend of mine. I'll get him on the show here coming up in the next couple of weeks. Michael would call me sometimes on a Thursday night. Hey, Napes, can you work this weekend? I'm like, yep, I sure can. And I would get in my Subaru hatchback with no air conditioning, and I would drive the 500 miles from Long Island over the GW Bridge on the Interstate 80 through New Jersey, through Pennsylvania, into Northeast Ohio, Warren, Ohio, through Cleveland, down to Toledo, and then I-75 south to Bowling Green, where I stayed at with my buddy. 25-minute drive from Bowling Green to the TV station. And I would do a 5-minute sportscast on Saturday, a 5-minute sportscast on Sunday, get in my car Monday, drive 10 hours back to New York. And whenever Michael would call me, I would make that drive. And that's how I got my first TV resume tape that I sent out. I flooded the market. That's when I was living with George McPhee in the summers, when George was playing for the New York Rangers. I would work out with George every morning, work out with George that summer. He had just completed his first year with the Rangers, and he had this workout plan from the training staff. And every morning we would work out, and George got me on this unbelievable diet, and I was in the best shape I'd ever been in my life after that. And I got a job. George, I can't even remember what I was doing, but George comes into the apartment in Bowling Green. I said, Georgie, I have an interview. He goes, man, that is so freaking great. I go, yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow for the interview. I drove to Decatur, Illinois. I got hired. $12,300 was my salary. Weekend sports anchor, news photographer during the week until I could get a full-time position. And it was in the budget, but it hadn't started yet. So the news director, Dick Westbrook, said, you'll become full-time sports, but right now I don't have it in the budget. So you do the sports on Saturday and Sunday, and during the week you'll be a news photographer, which just sucked. I mean, that was horrible. Go out, shoot car accidents, go to city council meetings. I hated that. It was awful. But, you know, I got a job, right? And I know, so like 6 months after doing that, I became a full-time sports person. But anyway, I drive back from Decatur, Illinois, and I don't know, 2 or 3 days later, I get a call from Dick Westbrook, and he offers me the job. And he said, when can you start? I said, how about like tonight? He goes, no, when can you start? I go, I could be there tomorrow. He said, okay, great. So I didn't even have a suitcase. I'm putting all my stuff in bags from the Kroger supermarket. True story. And George had gone out for a run and an additional workout. And George comes in, I'll never forget this. He's got his gym shorts on. He's got his tank top with this like fedora hat on. I'm like, dude, what is your deal? And he goes, what's the deal with you? What's going on with all these paper? What are you doing? I go, Georgie, I'm leaving, buddy. He goes, you're leaving? I go, yep. I got the job and I'm leaving. He goes, like, you're leaving? Like right now? I go, yeah, I'm leaving right now. He goes, we can't go out and celebrate. I go, we'll celebrate soon, but I'm leaving. And he goes, Napes, I'm so freaking happy for you. And this was just an incredible point in my career. It was July, and it took me a year to get a TV job after working part-time in Toledo and getting my resume tape. And I flooded the markets. I just kept on sending out tapes after tapes. And then I would call the news director at every TV station like 2 weeks later. Hi, so-and-so, I'm Grant Napear. And when I called WAND in Decatur, I swear, Dick Westbrook, he answers the phone after I got transferred from the front desk. Westbrook. I'm like, yeah, Mr. Westbrook, my name is Grant Napear. He didn't even let me finish. Oh, yeah. I've got your tape right in front of me. I just looked at it today. Listen, I like your work. My weekend sports anchor just handed me his notice. Can you come in for an interview? Like, you talk about timing, right? Talk about perseverance. And I'm like, yeah. And I was there and then got offered the job. And I'll never forget when George walked in and I'm like, I'm out of here, buddy. I'll never forget that. And I walked down the stairs outside my apartment, loaded my car, gave George a big hug. And that was it. That's how I began my career. Pretty amazing. Really was. Pretty amazing way to start your career. Let's get Dorian real quick before we get to the break. Dorian, go ahead. Let's see.
What's going on, Grant?
There we go.
Right
Hello, Dorian. How are you?
Hey, man, it's a beautiful day here in Sacramento, brother. It's always great as we get older, man, to reflect on our careers and stuff that we the stuff that we have to go through in our experiences that get us to where we are right now, man. And I've heard a lot about your stories, Grant. I'm really interested though. At what point in your life did you realize, like, I'm really talented, I'm really gifted, I have a gift, and whatever it is I'm gonna do, I want to be a play-by-play commentator. What did you can you remember a point in your life where you're like, man, I'm actually really good at this?
7th grade, when I was at a class assembly at my junior high school, and it ran short, and all the kids started chanting my name, and they made me go up on the stage and do a mock Knicks and Rangers game. That was the first time. And the second time was when I was in 10th grade, a sophomore at high school, and I was traveling to Pennsylvania for our annual football camp in high school. I was on the JV. I had not yet made the varsity, but the JV and the varsity went to this football camp for a week in Pennsylvania. And I'm on the bus with all of the varsity players, and they made me go to the back of the bus and literally announce a full basketball game. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, Knicks, Lakers, 1970 NBA championship at Madison Square Garden with commercials. And I sat on the back of the bus with these guys for 3 hours doing a complete broadcast, and they loved it, and they just wanted me to go and go. And at that point, I'm like, I think I can do this for a living. And that's really where it started, to be honest with you.
That's amazing, man. I've heard you go on stage. I've heard that story, but I didn't hear this one about the bus. It's pretty cool, probably over your career, getting messages and getting phone calls from people like, man, Grant, I remember, growing up with you, you used to, call these games, and now look at you, you're announcing games for the Kings, or you got your own podcast, you're on the radio. So those feelings must have been really awesome, Grant.
Well, the best feeling I ever had was when I called my dad and told him I was going to be the TV announcer of the Sacramento Kings. But yeah, listen, a lot of fans didn't know what I was doing, and they hear me on Mike and the Mad Dog because I'm from New York, and Mike and the Mad Dog would always have me on when we were playing, the Knicks. And a lot of my fans didn't even or a lot of my friends, casual friends, not my good friends, but friends that knew me from high school, or they didn't know, and they would then reach out to me. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I've had a great career. I have no regrets in anything that I've ever done in my career. I'm blessed. I've done the NHL, the NFL, the NBA. I've done national radio for the two biggest entities in the country. I mean, I'm thrilled with what I've done, and I'm still going at age 66, and I love going to work every day. So I've got no complaints.
Yeah, man, there's still a lot more goals, a lot more stuff to accomplish, a lot more experiences to have, Grant. As you,
thank you, buddy.
As you were announcing the game for the Kings, of course, as you were announcing the game for the Kings, Grant, did you ever have? I know you mentioned before that you have students, send you tapes all the time. Specifically, this student out in Syracuse. But when you were doing the Kings game, did you have anybody like that yourself, where you would send tapes, or would you just listen to yourself and get feedback from other professionals and other colleagues? I'll take this one offline. Thanks, Grant.
Thank you, buddy. Well, when I was in the NBA, I used to listen to it myself. But before that, when I was in college, I would send my work to Marv Albert, and he would critique my tapes when I was in college. And that was a really, really big deal, a really big deal. Don't forget, I've got Grant's Rant, all right, coming up next right here on Fox Sports Sacramento.
Heavy rush hour delays throughout the entire Sacramento area. Give yourself some extra time through there. We're still trying to clean up a couple of earlier problems. One was on I-80, just on the approach to I-5 in North Sacramento. Give yourself a couple of extra minutes to work your way through that one. And also got a problem on San Juan Avenue at Madison Avenue in North Sacramento, slowing things down. Give yourself a couple of extra minutes to work your way through that intersection. With twice an hour traffic, I'm Andy Bass for Fox Sports Sacramento.
It's an electric September at Epic Chevrolet and Cadillac. Osvaldo Hernandez and his team have epic deals for you on all Chevy and Cadillac EVs before time runs out on the $7,500 federal rebate, which ends September 13th. Oz and his team are ready to get you into an EV of your choice. See the epic selection of Equinox, Blazers, Silverados, Lyrics, and Optics. Get your epic deal and get the $7,500 federal rebate. Epic Chevrolet and Cadillac on the corner corner of El Camino and Fulton. The time to get an EV is now. And the most epic deals are available at Epic Chevrolet and Cadillac. See Oz and his team and learn about additional in-person specials. Don't wait. The federal rebate ends September 13th. Epic Chevrolet and Cadillac. Epic cars, epic deals, and epic service. It's an electric September at Epic Chevrolet and Cadillac. Call Oz at 916-929-8335.
Hi, it's Margot from Bennett's Restaurants. At Bennett's, it's all about bold flavors and fresh handcrafted food served with genuine hospitality. Craving prime hand-cut steaks? We've got them. Fresh salmon, halibut, or giant Mexican prawns? We've got those too. At Bennett's, we serve premium seafood and steaks in a relaxed setting. Whether you're joining us for a special night out or a casual bite, we'll treat you like family every time. Find us in Sacramento, Roseville, and Rockland. View our menus and make a reservation at bennettsrestaurants.com.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. Cal Raleigh didn't just cement himself as the face of the Mariners last night. It may have been the cherry on top. One of the greatest seasons we've ever seen from a catcher. With Seattle clinching the AL West with a win over Colorado, Raleigh launched his 59th and 60th home runs of the season. A jaw-dropping milestone for any position. What makes it even more remarkable is the style in which he's done it. 11 multi-home run games this season. That ties the single-season record. And he's not just adding to the Mariners' box scores, he's rewriting baseball's record books. Raleigh's already put distance between himself and Mickey Mantle for the most home runs by a switch hitter in a season, and way past Salvador Perez for the most home runs in a single year by a catcher. For the M's, hopefully it's a sign of things to come. And for Raleigh, it's something sweeter. Catchers aren't supposed to carry lineups, but in 2025, the man nicknamed the Big Dumper has done just that. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.
I am dedicated. I am TNT. With Team in Training, you will reach your best physical self so blood cancer patients can reach theirs. Change your life by joining a marathon, half marathon, triathlon, or a cycle event, and you'll change the lives of blood cancer patients. I am committed. I am TNT. After 600,000 participants and almost $1 billion raised for treatments, TNT has helped the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society make a significant impact in the advancement of blood cancer therapies that save lives every day. I am making a difference. I am TNT. Join TNT. Expand your circle of friends to be part of a very special community. Train with world-class trainers and have the chance to be part of the most exciting endurance sports events in the country. Or train on your own schedule with TNT Flex. Join TNT and fundraise while you train and take part in getting us all closer to a world without blood cancers. Join TNT now. Go to teamintraining.org.
Sacramento, we've got our guy. Grant Napear. Grant Napier's back, beginning weekdays at 3 p.m. KSAC 890 AM Olivehurst, K284CM 104.7 FM Sacramento.
It's time for Grant's Rant.
Yes, love it. Grant's Rant on a Thursday, the start of a crazy 5-day stretch in sports. What do you got for me, Rhino?
Grant, I'm going to pick up James in Elk Grove, who dropped off the phone lines. He had a rant idea for you. According to him, this weekend is the Pioneer Trail reenactment, where Highway 50 is filled with trailers. And I'm not talking about motorhomes. I'm talking about the old 1850 Pioneer trailers and how it backs up traffic. Second option is people who litter out of their cars. I've never understood that. I don't get it. I'm sorry. And third, dealer's choice, whatever you got.
You're telling me that this weekend is the reenactment of the Pioneers Trail? Is that what you were telling me?
According to James in Elk Grove.
All right. So assuming that James in Elk Grove is right, I will rant on that. Because there is nothing more aggravating than being on Highway 50 and being delayed because I have horse and buggies coming down Highway 50 with a reenactment from a couple of centuries ago. You know what? You want to impress me? Go through the freaking forest, through the rocks, over the rocks, around the rocks. If you really want to impress me, show me how that's done. Because I may be mistaken,
But I don't believe in that era of history in our country, there were paved roads for the horse and buggy. I wasn't alive in the 1800s, but I'm taking a wild guess that when the settlers moved west, that they didn't have Highway 50 and Highway 80 or Interstate 80 to ride their horse and buggies. All right? I could be mistaken, but I don't believe so. So if you really want to impress me, instead of backing up the traffic from all the people that want to go back and forth to Lake Tahoe, and they got to be stopped and watch this nonsense pass you by on the other side of the road going freaking a half mile an hour, you know what? That doesn't impress me. If you want to impress me, all right, and let me know, I'll make the effort. I'll put my hiking boots on, and I'll go into the deep forest, and I'll take my phone out, and I'll actually video you. I will see how you are doing, and I will talk about it on my radio show every day for a week. Can you do that for me? That would be impressive. But you're going to back up the traffic over stupidity, all right? How about reenacting it on a side road? How about reenacting it on something other than a 2-lane highway? That wouldn't be hard, right? How about going off into a village somewhere and make a big deal out of it? Have a parade, have someone donate hot dogs and hamburgers, right? Make it a real nice event instead of getting on Highway 50 and ticking everybody off. Because I would just right now make a wager that the majority of people that are delayed over this nonsense are not happy. I know I wasn't happy. It's stupid. Absolutely ridiculous. You want to go back and revisit history? I'm fine with that. You want to do make and believe? Whatever. Do it somewhere else. Get off the 2-lane freeway, would you please? Or the highway or whatever the heck it's called. Get off the road. And now you're tying up the California Highway Patrol. Instead of doing what they need to be doing, they're doing traffic control up there. Because they got 3 or 4 horse and buggies coming down the road. What is that proving to me? Big freaking deal. Go away, would you please? Keep the roads clear. And that's my rant for today. Is that good enough for you, Rhino? What a classic. I mean, seriously.
What a classic. Well done. Go over the hills and the rocks and the mountains. I feel you.
Unbelievable.
It's kind of like, it's not all too different from you making those tapes and distributing them to news stations. Were you sending out like physical tapes to every news station you could?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I had 3/4. It was back. It was called a 3/4 inch videotape. And yes, absolutely. And I would go into the ABC studios after hours in Toledo, and I would edit normally 5 tapes at a time that I had circled to send out. And I wasn't sending them out to New York and Chicago. I was sending them out to markets that I thought I could work at based on the size of the market. There's probably 200 plus TV markets in America.
Yep.
And I was sending them out. Now, I got lucky. I got a job in the 73rd market, but it was a hyphenated market, Decatur, Springfield, and Champaign, Illinois. But I sent out to like the Quad Cities. You know, I sent out to Champaign, Illinois, Springfield, Decatur, like, you know, all of these towns like that. All right. Like Indiana, the towns in Indiana that have television stations that is not Indianapolis, other markets, like, you know, just throughout the United States. And I did that for months. And I would always follow up about a week to 10 days later. And a lot of times you couldn't get through to the news director. Yeah. Sometimes you could, and you would get their voicemail. And sometimes they would pick up their phone. And most of the people were very nice. They were like, hey, I really appreciate you sending the tape. We don't have any openings right now, but if we do, you know, we'll certainly keep your tape here and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, that was the process back then. But they were physical 3/4 inch tapes. Correct.
How many tapes did you go through?
Oh, gosh. I probably sent out 100. And it wasn't only you had to put them in a hard shell case that they came in. So I would buy those, and I can't remember what the cost was, but I probably sent out, I don't know, maybe 100 altogether. I didn't send them all out at once. I would do them in waves.
Sure.
Because but yeah, I that's how I did it. Yeah.
Very impressive.
Absolutely.
Paying your dues right there.
Well, I feel very proud, and most people that are in my profession, and I've got a couple listening right now, have similar stories. And so that's how you get started in this business. And you have to be lucky, but you have to be dedicated and committed that that's what you want to do for a living. And I was very committed that that's what I was going to do. And I knew in my heart that I could do it. So I had the belief that I would watch people on TV, or I would listen on the radio, and I would selfishly say, I'm better than them. I need a job. And so, you whatever it takes to motivate you, that's what you do. Let's get to Jim right here on Fox Sports Sacramento. Hello, Jim.
Hey, Grant. Great to hear from you again, man. It's wonderful. Wonderful to have you on the radio.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much.
Hey, listening to you talk about how you got started, it makes me nostalgic too. I'm a 62-year-old guy. I've been in law enforcement for 35 years. I'm going to retire soon. And it makes me look back too. And then when I hear your voice, it reminds me of happy times with the Sacramento Kings. Happier times. And I know
well,
you're
I
not from
appreciate that. And I want to say to you, go ahead.
Uh-huh. No, I know you're not from Sacramento, but I think of you as part of Sacramento. You are part of Sacramento as much as anyone else.
Thank you.
You will always be.
Thank you. Thank you.
Associated with great times with the Sacramento Kings. So thank you. Thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you for what you do, because I don't think law enforcement gets thanked enough. And so I want to publicly thank you for what you do. And I wish you the very best in retirement. And I've always considered myself over the last many years a Sacramentan and not a New Yorker, because I've lived over half my life in Sacramento. So when people ask me, even when I'm not in California, and I meet people, whether it's abroad or in Florida, and they ask me where I'm from, I say Sacramento. So I appreciate that. But again, thank you for your service and what you do. And again, I don't think you all get patted on the back enough. So thank you.
Hey, thank you, Grant. Can I ask you just one last thing before I go?
Yeah.
So the young, Grant Napear, who is with the Sacramento Kings and doing play-by-play, and then now, what are some of the things that you learned professionally? Like, what are some of the things that you take away today as opposed to back then?
I'll let you take it off the air. It's an excellent question, and it's a question that I have answered many times. I think just about anything in life comes down to work ethic. And very often when I have a young person approach me about broadcasting, and I've had many students come into the studio, I can tell within 30 seconds whether they're going to make it or not, just based on how they communicate. I think one of the biggest issues in our society right now with younger people, and I don't want to stereotype, okay, but I do think it's an issue. People don't communicate the way they used to because of their smartphones. They communicate via text. Same thing with our families. I remember when my wife and I, years ago, when our kids were teenagers, both hers and mine, we were so frustrated because we could never talk to our kids. So we went on a cruise, and we went into the Caribbean on Carnival Cruise, a 7-day cruise. And back then, your cell phones didn't work when you're out at sea. And we chose that vacation so that we could talk to our kids, as sad as that may seem. And we had the best conversations every night at dinner because there were no phones to be on. We actually talked as a family. We actually had a phenomenal time, and we communicated. It's a shame that you got to go somewhere where your phones don't work. But the reality is, the young people in today's society that can communicate, communication to me is the most important thing. And I don't care what you do, what field of work you're in, communication is the key. You need to be able to communicate, and you need to be able to look people in the eye. You need to be able to come across as somebody that knows what you're talking about, but communication. And I always tell young people, and I told them when I was first starting in the profession, and I tell them now even more so. And that's why I can tell within 30 seconds when I meet an individual, I can tell how they were raised, what their communication skills are, and whether they have a really good chance of succeeding in this business. I know. I don't mean to embarrass Rhino because he was older when he approached me and was very educated, but I could tell after he approached me and he talked to me about his dreams that even though he had a completely different career at the time, I said, okay, I think he could do it, right? I made that determination after talking to him within 30 to 60 seconds. And there are others much younger than Rhino that have come into my studio. There was Stockton Rick, who used to call my show as a kid at age 7 and 8. And I was so enamored with him that I had him come to the studio one day. And I had him come into my studio and I interviewed him as a kid in grade school. Okay. And he told me then during that interview that he wanted to be a neurologist. How many kids in grade school even know how to say the word neurologist? And I was talking to Stockton Rick, who used to call my show all the time, and all of Sacramento loved him. And he went on and is having a phenomenal career. He actually chose politics as a career, and he's doing great. He just texted me last week, and he just got married recently. I'm so happy for him. But I mean, just one phone call as a kid, I was so enamored with him. I go, Rick, how old are you? And then he would call the show, and I was like, wow. And so I go, hey, could you come into the studio? I need to meet you. Like, there are just certain people you meet, and you go, oh, they're going to be able to do whatever they want. And there are other individuals that I met at a young age where you just know. And then there are stories where I've had others come up to me, and they're shy and they're timid and they don't know how to talk. And I'm like, this person's going to have a really difficult time. So communication first and foremost, Rhino. And I know you meet people all the time, and you know, and especially in this business, you got to be able to talk to people. And if you can't, you're going to have a very difficult time succeeding.
Yeah, and you've got to be able to talk to things as well without people looking at you like you're crazy.
Yeah, well, crazy is part of our society now, it seems like, right? Crazy is part of our society. The other part of that question, and it's unfortunately sad, but it's very true, is unlike when I was coming up through college in the early years, and really even my last stint on radio, you didn't have to have a filter on. Like I did a fat rant, which to this day I think is my most popular rant that people love, that people always wanted me to replay. You know, if I did a fat rant today, I think I would offend a number of people, and I would probably have some obesity society, you know, call up and demand that I get taken off the air and all of that. Like we've lost our sense of humor in this country to a degree where, as a personality, as an entertainer, like you have to now think about, wait, well, can I say that? What are the ramifications of that? Am I going to offend, 10 people or you? So what I've learned is you're always going to offend somebody, right? I call people morons on my show or idiots. Well, I'm offending them. Okay. But 98% of the people find it funny. They find it entertaining, but I'm always going to offend. Just like what Charles Barkley said, you cannot do this job properly without hurting someone's feelings. It's not possible. If you do this job, okay, without offending anybody, then you're a cupcake. You're vanilla, and you're never going to really succeed. You're just going to be another person that the fans can't remember because you don't stand out. So if you're not going to be opinionated, if you're not going to tell it like it is, you really aren't going to have a successful career in this business. But with that and that territory comes the fact that you're going to upset somebody. You're going to hurt someone's feelings. You're going to have a Chris Webber or a DeMarcus Cousins or a Kevin Durant, right? Or other athletes that get all cranky and have to come out on the offensive because somebody on the radio or somebody on social media criticized me, and how dare they criticize me? So that's the society that we're living in today. And I've learned, and I'm also at a position now in my career, I don't care anymore. Like, I don't care anymore. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Right, Rhino? I don't care anymore, And so, sorry about that. My phone just came on, but I don't care anymore. Like, I really don't. Like, if, I hope this doesn't happen, but if like my radio job ends tomorrow, okay, I'm going to, get in the car and I'm going to drive home, and I don't care. And I'm exaggerating a little bit. I love doing this job, but the point I'm trying to make is I don't care about all the crap anymore. I don't care about all the nonsense anymore. As Bob Valvano came on the air the other day and was talking about the medium of talk radio and how for him it wasn't fun anymore. I get that. And he said, everybody's trying to have a gotcha moment. Gotcha. Gotcha. Oh, I heard you say, I gotcha. You're being attacked. You know, and I get Bob. And that's why Bob stopped doing radio. And I know exactly what he was talking about. And I can't really disagree with him. But for me right now, in 2025, this show, as I wrap up my 4th week tomorrow, I'm having a lot of fun. Like I love it. Maybe I'm not going to love it in a year from now. Maybe I won't love it in 2 years from now. If I ever get to that point where I don't love doing it, I will stop doing it. I don't foresee that happening in the near future. But if I get to that point, I'll do what Bob did. I'll resign. I'll move on. But I still love doing this radio show. But Rhino, again, to come back full circle, there are so many people that do this that don't want to lose their job. And so they're afraid of what to say. And then they're kind of uptight on how to approach certain subjects. Yeah. I'm past that point in my career. I don't care anymore. I just don't care.
Well, you've kind of been through both sides of it. And not many people can say that. And I would also say that got you moment or gotcha. It used to be out of principle. And I think too many times the people that are looking to do the gotcha, they're looking to get the attention on social media, not necessarily get their cause across always.
All right, we'll take the break. Thursday Night Football is beginning. I will be doing a show on YouTube if you don't like that following the game. So I'm looking forward to doing that. But right now we take a time out, okay? And I want to tell you about DAS Mechanical. If you're looking for a maintenance check, you need an emergency repair on a heating or cooling unit, DAS Mechanical will take care of all of your heating, cooling, ventilation, and energy needs. They'll provide you with a full consultation. You're going to understand everything that's going on because they're going to explain to you all of your available options so that you can choose the system that's right for your home or business. Up to $6,000 in rebates and federal tax credits on qualifying equipment. And take advantage of the $2,000 federal tax credit before it's set to go away at the end of the year. You always hear me talk about people, right? Like relationships and getting to know somebody. And after talking with their owner, Nick, I understand why they have so many 5-star reviews. I understand why they've won so many best of the best awards. I get it. DAS Mechanical serves Sacramento and Placer counties, homeowners, businesses for commercial maintenance. They are HVAC retrofit and service specialists. Go to dasmechanical.org. That's D as in dog, A, S as in Sam, mechanical.org. Book online. Check out their reviews, their awards, dasmechanical.org. How about some phone calls when we come back? 916-779-0929. Grant Napear Show, Fox Sports, Sacramento.
Traffic as we take another look at the roadways. US 50 off ramp to 34th Street in South Sacramento, working a traffic hazard of some sort. So give yourself a couple of extra minutes to work your way through that exit ramp. I-80 eastbound, just on the approach to the I-5 interchange in North Sacramento. Still trying to clean up that earlier problem with there. And heavy rush hour delays pretty much exist throughout all of Sacramento, especially Cap City Freeway, US 50, and I-5. With twice an hour traffic, I'm Andy Bass for Fox Sports Sacramento.
It's an electric September at Epic Chevrolet and Cadillac. Osvaldo Hernandez and his team have epic deals for you on all Chevy and Cadillac EVs before time runs out on the $7,500 federal rebate, which ends September 13th. Oz and his team are ready to get you into an EV of your choice. See the epic selection of Equinox, Blazers, Silverados, Lyrics, and Optics. Get your epic deal and get the $7,500 federal rebate. Epic Chevrolet and Cadillac on the corner of El Camino and Fulton. The time to get an EV is now. And the most epic deals are available at Epic Chevrolet and Cadillac. See Oz and his team and learn about additional in-person specials. Don't wait. The federal rebate ends September 13th. Epic Chevrolet and Cadillac. Epic cars, epic deals, and epic service. It's an electric September at Epic Chevrolet and Cadillac. Call Oz at 916-929-8335.
Looking for the ultimate night out? Welcome to HQ Showgirls, Sacramento's premier adult gentlemen's club. We're the only topless club between Reno and San Francisco serving alcohol, beer, wine, and champagne. All inside over 6,000 square feet of pure excitement. Planning a party or a VIP night? Call our VIP manager now at 916-389-0199 to book your table. Come experience the energy at HQ Showgirls, 851 Richards Boulevard, Sacramento. Open 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Sunday through Thursday and until 4 a.m. Friday and Saturday. Visit hqnightclub.com, where the night begins and never stops.
Welcome back right here to Fox Sports Sacramento. Again, the Thursday night game is underway, which starts an amazing 5-day stretch in the world of sports. Rhino's favorite team, the Seattle Seahawks, trying to go to 3-1 on the young season.
Yeah, deadlocked right now, 0-0. About 5-6 minutes through the first quarter. We'll see if they can get it done. They've won the last 7, Grant, against Arizona.
Wow, I didn't realize that. That's a nice little streak.
It's a good streak. Could be good, could be bad. Yeah. We'll see. But I'm sitting here. I'm in a soundproof room, looking across the glass. You're in a soundproof room. I've got one headphone over one ear, and I'm listening to the control room with the other. And somehow I hear your ringtone through the glass. Like, what are your settings at right now?
You heard my ringtone?
Yeah, your phone that started playing right there in the last segment.
You know what? I accidentally, when I moved my phone to get some phone numbers in my sheet of what I have to read for the phone numbers, I accidentally hit the AI and something started happening. That was not my ringtone, so I apologize.
Is that AI from New York too?
Yes. Yes. How did you not know that?
Well, I'm just saying.
It was from the Highway 50. I borrowed it from the horse and buggy pioneers coming by. Is that okay?
They have cell phones?
Yeah, they do now. I don't know if they had them back in the 1800s when the settlers came west, but I noticed that they do have them now as they're coming down Highway 50.
Isn't that kind of against the whole thing? If you're reenacting the 1850s, you probably
you'd have to ask them, but I would think so.
In your pocket, but
I would think so.
Speaking of cell phones, what was your first cell phone?
I honestly do not remember. I can't remember.
You didn't,
but I do remember. I tell you this. I remember being. I've always told this story at the earthquake at Candlestick Park for the World Series between the Giants and the A's in '89, and to this day, I'll never forget it. But anyway, when we ended up going out into the parking lot with my cameraman, first of all, this is incredible. Like, you can't make this up. We're driving from Sacramento to San Francisco, and I'll never forget this. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. I mean, it was just like a postcard. And we're driving through Berkeley, and I'm looking across the bay at the Golden Gate Bridge and the skyline of San Francisco and the Bay Bridge. And I said to my cameraman, Cody, I said, man, when the big earthquake hits, I hope I'm not on that bridge.
No way.
Swear on my life.
Stop.
I swear on my life. I said that to him. And a couple of hours later, the big earthquake hit. And as we know, part of the bridge collapsed. But the parking lot scene was one I'll never forget. But we had a cell phone that day, but it was connected. It was like the size of a car battery.
Yeah.
And we had people offering us $20, $30, $40 to borrow it, but we couldn't because we needed to save it because we were going into the city to become now news people instead of sports people, going to the Marina District and other areas of the city to do news for Channel 31. So that's my first memory of a true cell phone, but it wasn't mine. It was the TV stations. But I am not kidding you. I swear on my life that I made that comment to my cameraman, Cody, that day on I-80, hours before the big earthquake hit.
That's insane.
Yep.
Were you worried about the integrity of the roads you were going to be driving on as you headed towards the scene?
No, because I was uneducated about the remnants of an earthquake, and I was too startled after experiencing being in the upper deck between home plate and first base, as it was the auxiliary media section. I was too shaken up to even think about those things because the stadium was swaying and I was holding on to each side of my armrest on the chair
thinking that this stadium is going to collapse and we're all going to die. So that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And no one in the stadium had cell phones because they didn't exist at that time. And it wasn't until a couple of moments later when people who had been listening to everything on the radio started to spread the word to others that didn't have a radio that parts of the Bay Bridge collapsed, the Nimitz Freeway collapsed, that the Marina District was on fire. And then when the news broke, because at first, what happened right after the earthquake ceased, everyone gave a standing ovation. They thought it was really cool because, they're Californians and they're used to earthquakes. Well, I wasn't. But when we found out the severity of the earthquake, the players went out onto the field. They called their families out of the stands. They didn't want their families in the stands in case of an aftershock.
Yeah.
Players and the families of both the Giants and the A's were on the field. And the rest of us that had gathered at that point, the stadium was full. The game was just getting ready to start, exited the stadium. So now you have a scene in the parking lot at Candlestick Park where the line to use the payphone went on forever because people were concerned about their loved ones. And, it goes without saying.
Sure.
And that's when we had people coming up to us, begging us to use our phone. And we just had to politely say, I'm really sorry, we can't. And they offered us large sums of money. And I'm like, I'm sorry, we can't. We need to have it to communicate with our TV station. And I remember getting into the vehicle, trying to get out of the parking lot, which took a long time. There was not a lot of access to get to downtown San Francisco. Obviously, the Bay Bridge was closed. The only way to get off the peninsula from where we were going, and we left at about, I want to say 4 a.m, was over the Golden Gate Bridge.
Mm.
And I wasn't really thinking about when we were driving over the Golden Gate Bridge at 4 a.m, is this bridge going to collapse? So I didn't really, that never entered my mind.
Yeah.
The road structure driving back to Sacramento in the wee hours of the morning never really entered my mind. It was such a, I don't really know how to put it into words. It was such a, well, first of all, I was grateful that the stadium didn't collapse. I was grateful that, we were safe. But when you're hearing all the stories about what's going on around you at the Nimitz Freeway, at the Bay Bridge, and all the people that lost their lives, you realize that, wow, you're lucky to be alive. I honestly thought the stadium was going to collapse. That's what I was thinking in my mind as we're swinging back and forth. And I remember thinking this is going to be the biggest story in the world when this stadium collapses. I was thinking this is just going to be the biggest story in the world, and it's going to be about all of us dying here at the World Series.
Unreal. And 60,000, 70,000.
Yeah.
Share that memory with you.
Well, whoever was at the upper deck that night or that afternoon, I would think probably had the same, well, as it was going on, probably had the same sensation. But all the fans, I remember a standing ovation at the end of that. They were all cheering like it was some big deal, like some great thing to experience.
That's maybe they were just cheering because they were alive. Not necessarily
I'm not really sure. I didn't get that impression. I got the impression that, hey, we just had an earthquake. How cool is it that I was there to experience the earthquake? And again, you have to understand that this is before cell phones. So it took several minutes before we understood that this was not just an earthquake, that this was a major earthquake that had caused extensive damage and the loss of life.
I can't imagine an earthquake that strong. We've had a couple in the past 3 years, that haven't been too far from Sacramento. In certain parts of the city, you felt something very minor, and I felt something very minor. And it's like, holy moly. Like, is my equilibrium off? Like, am I getting sick? Am I getting ready to pass out? And for that to be so small, but to go through something much larger like that, my goodness.
It's a very scary situation, especially now when there are earthquakes in the oceans and the tsunami warnings come.
Yeah.
For the people that now live in those areas, thank goodness there are the warning systems that did not exist when you had the horrible tsunami in parts of Southeast Asia and parts of the Phuket and Thailand and other Southeast area regions were wiped out, and there was massive loss of life. And there is many videos of a beautiful, pristine day of people enjoying themselves on the beach, not understanding that when the water receded, that was their signal to get the heck off. They were sitting there and they didn't have any idea what was going on. They were just sitting there watching the water come in, totally unaware that a tsunami was happening. And there was just a massive loss of life. Well, now there's a warning system that is extremely reliable for the people to find higher ground. We just had one, what was it, last month, correct?
Yeah, we did. You're spot on. The video of that was terrifying. Like, you don't even equate water moving that fast and that high with that.
I remember being on the road when the earthquake that hit Japan and the tsunami that caused massive damage at that nuclear power plant in northern Japan. But I remember watching all of that live on TV, and it's just a massive wall of water destroying everything in its path. And yeah, it's just it's awful. I mean, it's horrible. And again, that was before you had the tsunami warnings.
Yeah.
So at least now people know, okay, there's a legitimate warning. It's credible. Let's go to higher ground.
Yeah, there was an instance where the warning went off in some city. I want to say it was Maui before the terrible Lahaina fires, but the alarm accidentally went off, and there was a big controversy over that. Somebody ended up getting fired, so they take it really serious. No doubt.
Absolutely. Hey, before we get to break, I want to talk to you about Village Financial Group. I've known the broker owner, Spencer Grimmenstein, for 25 years. That's when Spence opened up his family business. And I love the fact that it's family owned and family run, and the fact that it's been a quarter of a century now. And so if it's a home equity line of credit, are you buying a home? Are you selling a home? Let me tell you about Spence. He's unbelievably experienced, and he's a very creative financing specialist, and he has access to private money. If you go online to vfgloans.com, you'll find over 9,000 properties available for purchase. Give Spencer a call or text him at 916-805-4868. And be sure and call for the Investors Special. It makes sense to call Spence at 916-805-4868. Village Financial Group, looking out for your best interest. Boy, I wish time used to go this fast when I was in school. I can't believe that I only have one more segment left. And we'll do it when we come back right here. The Grant Napear Show, Fox Sports Sacramento.
Heavy rush hour delays still exist throughout the Sacramento area. Working a couple of problems out there. US 50 eastbound off ramp to 34th Street. We got an earlier accident still trying to be wrapped up by officials. We got a car fire in Grass Valley on Alta Sierra Drive at Dog Bar Road. EMS and fire rescue are on scene extinguishing out that fire. Give yourself a couple of extra minutes to work your way through that intersection. With twice an hour traffic, I'm Andy Bass for Fox Sports Sacramento.
It's Laramie the Golden Retriever with Vince Bloom the big guy.
The weather's getting cooler, but at Folsom Lake Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, the deals are hotter than ever.
How do you mean, Vince?
It's the Drive Into Fall event, and prices are falling like leaves on every Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram in stock. Listen.
During the Drive Into Fall event at Folsom Lake Dodge, save over $6,500 net savings off MSRP on a new 2025 Jeep Wrangler 2-door Sport. That's over 17% off.
And I've got 5 at this hot deal.
Or rustle up over $10,000 off a new 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. Over 19% off.
The Drive Into Fall at Folsom Lake Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram. Even Laramie knows now is the time for a deal. Right, Laramie?
At Folsom Lake Dodge.
In the Folsom Auto Mall and online at FolsomLakeDodge.com.
Wrangler includes $44.85 dealer discount plus $2,000 in national retail bonus cash. VIN SE 658348. Grand Cherokee includes $45.25 dealer discount plus $5,500 in national retail loyalty and select inventory bonus cash. VINs S866 7701 629 387 6694 58. See dealer for details. Expires 9/30/25.
So many things, big and little, make you uniquely you. Your hobbies, dreams, careers, family, and more. Addiction to drugs, including opioids and stimulants, can strip these away from you. Recover your life. Choose treatment for drug addiction and get back to what matters most. Find a provider and proven treatment option that's right for you. Recover you at choosechangeca.org.
Okay, we are running a car drive right now to help veterans all across America. So if you have an old car, truck, or van, even a motorcycle or an RV sitting around, you can right now give it away and help the vets. They really need your help. And your car will help support the vets and their families. And guess what? You even get a tax donation. Plus, we'll even come and pick up your car for free. And all you've got to do is pick up your phone right now and make a free call. Now is the perfect time to do something good for the vets. Give back to the vets right now for all they've done for this country. And your old car can really help them. So call the Veterans Car Donation Program right now for free pickup of your vehicle. Help the vets and help your taxes at the same time. Call right now.
800-598-0539. 800-598-0539. 800-598-0539. That's 800-598-0539.
Final segment. Ryder Cup. Tomorrow, early in the morning here in California. Early. Justin Thomas, Bryson DeChambeau will get it started. Terrell Hatton, John Rahm. Then Henley and Scheffler against Fitzpatrick and Oberg. And how about this group? Rory McIlroy and Tommy Fleetwood paired up against Harris English and Colin Morikawa. Then you got Robert McIntyre, Victor Hovland against Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele. Those are your morning sessions. Get started tomorrow. Bethpage Black. The New York crowd. It's going to be unfreaking believable. The Ryder Cup this weekend. Football going on right now with Seattle and Arizona. No score in the first quarter. College football. Number 6, Oregon. Number 3, Penn State. Saturday. LSU. Ole Miss, Alabama, Georgia, highlighting the schedule. And then you get to Sunday, final day of the Ryder Cup, final day of the regular season, final day of the regular season. Major League Baseball. And it's been unbelievable what's going on. Major League Baseball coming down to the last day. Pretty amazing how it's been. So we've got all of that. It's 3-0 in favor of the Cardinals. They looked like they had turned the ball over and then they got it right back. But how about baseball? Huh? Yeah, you play 162, I guess, for a reason. And who's the MVP in the American League? Judge or Raleigh? Who are you giving it to? Ryan, are you a Mariners fan too, like you are a Seahawks fan, or no?
I am not, but I am a Cal Raleigh fan. He is
He's
old
unbelievable.
school. He plays the game like an old school guy. It's amazing. And I think it's Cal Raleigh because he's also calling games on a daily basis as the catcher.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't have any problem. I having an amazing year. So, and they've already clinched their division. First time since 2001 that they've won the West. And that's pretty darn impressive. It's been a long, long dry spell. American League, I mean, look at the Yankees and the Blue Jays. They're tied going into the final weekend. And then in the National League, right, you've got really nothing to be decided, although mathematically,
right.
But it's a wild card right now, other than the Yankees and the Blue Jays. Look at the wild card race. You look at the National League, the Mets, Cincinnati, a game back in a loss column. Arizona, 2 games back in a loss column. So, that still is right there. You look at the American League. Houston is a half game back of Detroit at 85 and 74. It's just this thing's going down to Sunday. We won't really know what's happening until the play is up on Sunday.
It's incredible that our buddy Sean Salisbury took off this week for his son's wedding with everything going on with the Astros.
Well, I know Sean well enough to know that he got out of town at the right time as the Astros got spanked by the Mariners. And so Sean's like, he could forecast that and said, I've got to go to Hawaii and get away from this. You know what I mean? Because that was Seattle went over there and kicked their butt.
They did. It's a great point.
Sean's not stupid. Sean's a bright guy, you know?
Yeah, when you were talking about him catching up on football, catching up on football on a beach somewhere, cold drink in your hand. Not
hoping that
life.
his son is, going to be ready to roll. And his son just got married. So congratulations to Sean Salisbury and his family.
Congratulations. Touchdown, Seahawks.
Yes. Going to be a good game at AFC West. What was the streak, did you say, 6 in a row that the Seahawks have beaten the Cardinals?
7 in a row.
7 in a row. Okay. All right.
Yeah, the 12s traditionally travel very well to Arizona as well.
Yes. Why are you down? Well, I don't want to use the term down. Why are you not sold on Sam Darnold? What is it about him that makes you nervous?
What makes me nervous is I thought the offense that Minnesota ran was highly specialized. He had the perfect coach for him in KOC, Kevin O'Connell. They worked together in Southern California for many years before that. And I thought that, they kind of molded that around Sam and his strengths. And it obviously worked for a good season last year. Seattle doesn't really mold the system around the quarterback. Seattle's run the ball down the throat, make the throws when you need to make them, and let the defense win.
Okay, I think you hit that on the head. But through 3 games, Darnold's played pretty well, has he not?
He has in Jackson, Smith, and Jigba, second leading receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
Right above Ricky Pearsall. So, he has played well. I just need to see a little bit more.
Well, again, the touchdown pass was perfect in rhythm as Seattle has gone on top 7-3. What I think is so interesting when you talk about Seattle, they have a completely different look at their skill positions.
They do.
I mean, it's like a whole different team at the skill positions almost, with the exception of running back.
Yep, it exactly is. You kind of had, not kind of, DK Metcalf takes off.
Yep.
Smith and Jigba really comes on, new tight end as well, and it seems to be working so far. I think Seattle had the same problem your Giants are having with that monster great receiver on the end or on the edge that you just can't get the ball to. It just never really clicked with DK there, although he played well. But what are you thinking this week for Jackson Dart? Do you think he gives them that 1 week boost of energy?
I think he's going to get hurt, and I hate to say that because they're going to do a lot of run-pass option against the physical defense. And I don't like quarterbacks that take hits, and I think he's going to be taking a number of hits. So I'm hoping that at the end of the game, he's able to walk off the field. I think it's going to be a very mixed bag. The Chargers' defensive front is going to give the Giants' offensive line big problems.
Yeah.
The blitzing scheme defensively for the Chargers is going to give the Giants a lot of issues. There were 2 things, if I'm looking at it from this game. Are the Giants going to be able to run the ball enough that you will have a little bit of effectiveness with the run-pass option, play action, because you've got to find a way to get Malik Neighbors the ball. He was invisible last week against Kansas City. He's your best playmaker. He's your most dynamic guy in the field. You have to figure out a way to get him the ball. You just have to.
That's a guy that you should never underthrow unless it's absolutely on purpose, back shoulder, only place you can fit the ball into. I think what's interesting with the Chargers, since they'll be without Khalil Mack, is whether or not they're going to respect Jackson Dart's ability to run the ball right off the bat.
Oh, I think they'll respect it, but I think that they understand what they are, and they are a superior football team to the Giants. So you asked me what I expect. What I expect and what I want are 2 different things. But what I want is, after the game, as a fan of the franchise, I want to be able to say, okay, I get it. I see why they made this move now. And I see the future, right? Doesn't have to be great, but that I see enough where, looking forward, I feel comfortable that this could be a next really high caliber quarterback for the franchise.
not too dissimilar from what we're hoping for from the Kings this season.
Very true. Absolutely. And the big question as we get ready to wrap up this show, Ryan, and we talked about it a lot, is the roster currently the roster that's going to open up the season, or are we going to see the rumored trade between Kuminga and Monk, or are we going to see another trade with another individual? So all of these things, I hope if they are going to occur soon, because training camp's first practice is on Tuesday.
Yeah, if the transaction were to happen tonight, granted the cities are very close together, it's going to take a day to get them in. I mean, do you even do a press conference at that point, Grant, with Media Day coming up?
No. You would do it on Monday.
Yeah.
Everything's done on Monday. That's where you might have the press conference right before Media Day. You could do that, or just do it in the middle of Media Day. There's a lot of ways you could do it, but no, I would just wait until Monday.
Yeah. The thing that we have not talked about is many have speculated nationally, if Kuminga was to be traded, that could trigger a number of other moves around the NBA that I actually don't completely disagree with, Grant.
And you're referring to what in particular?
Just other teams that are waiting to fill out a final spot, or actually might think that a move. Who says that Golden State, I'll put it this way, keeps Malik Monk? What if there's a third team involved in all this? There's just teams, I think, that don't have their complete rosters, and I think they still kind of have a plan B. And it's been speculated that Kuminga is that last protected four shoe to drop, and then teams will move on from there. So I think there's other teams still interested in Jonathan Kuminga besides the Kings.
Oh, I think there are too. I don't think there's any question about that. So here's what we do know right now is the way the Kings roster looks, they're top heavy in the backcourt. That's the one thing we know.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I guess, does that change your decision and thinking in any way with the Monk for Kuminga speculation?
No, because I love Malik Monk, and I think he's a really good fit for Sacramento, and I think he provides something that they don't have that they really need. And I don't want to see him leave for that reason. So, no, it doesn't change that, because I don't think he's the guy that you move.
Understood. It's, again, hard to think about a Kings team based off the last few years without Malik, without that energy there. And part of that, too, though, I think we have to recognize, and no disrespect to Malik, he was really the only guy that could reliably bring up the basketball without De'Aaron Fox on the team. So when he went out, that changed a lot, especially at the end of the year. Now you have Dennis Schroeder. Does that change the formula whatsoever? Has Keon Ellis's handle gotten better over the summer, Grant? I think we know what Devin Carter's point guard skills are at the moment, although Doug McDermott said he had a great couple of weeks training. Looks awesome. Yep. So it's all for Scott Perry to figure out, and I would think Scott's gotten his look now. He knows what he thinks he has, and becomes him and Doug working together.
All right, so it could be an interesting weekend before Media Day. Rhino will be out there on Monday, and we'll be spending a lot of time on that Monday. We've got a doubleheader on Monday in the NFL, so a lot of Monday show is going to be centered around the Kings and Media Day and the NBA, and then the first practice is on Tuesday. And we've got the Ryder Cup this weekend, the last regular season weekend before the baseball playoffs start. This is some freaking amazing time of the year for sports. I mean, this has it all. College football, the NFL, the Ryder Cup. Hockey is underway with preseason games. Basketball, I mean, the baseball playoffs. Like, if you don't like this time of year, you don't like sports.
Granted,
it's that simple.
It's this or March, right? Those are the two best times, in my opinion. Really quick, don't forget the podcast, if you're just joining us, will be available tonight on Grant's podcast platform. If you don't like that, we're going to post it there temporarily until it moves to the new system with Fox Sports. So thank you for all your feedback. You'll be able to get it on demand later tonight.
All right, that's awesome. And don't forget, right after the Thursday night football game, I will be on my YouTube channel. If you don't like that, Rhino's got the King's Court that he does in the mornings at 10 o'clock. And don't forget all of the post-game shows this year of the Sacramento Kings. Rhino and yours truly, Jerry Reynolds, will be on with us quite a bit over on If You Don't Like That. So we will have you covered from top to bottom with the Sacramento Kings, both here on Fox Sports Sacramento and our podcast, if you don't like that. So we're really excited because this is when we roll up our sleeves to our freaking neck and really get down to work. I am pumped. I hope you are too. Tomorrow, Sean Salisbury is going to come on to talk college and the NFL. My thanks today to Steve Albert and his book that is out. My thanks to Chris Landry from LandryFootball.com. And my thanks to you for your support, your phone calls, your messages. And I can't wait to do it again in 21 hours from now. Right here, the Grant Napear Show, Fox Sports, Sacramento. Have a great rest of the day, everybody.